Recording in progress.
All right, welcome everybody. It is February 10th at 5:30 and we are starting the meeting. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome. Hope you all enjoyed your lovely cold day today. Are you doing roll call? Who's doing roll call?
I can do roll call.
All right.
Mayor Holstead.
Here.
Trustee Youngquist.
Here.
Trustee Roan. Here. Trustee Curry.
Here on Zoom.
Trustee Peterson.
Here.
Trustee Gregg.
Here.
Trustee Wheeler. Here.
All right, welcome. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? All right, we're off to a good start. Is there any identified or perceived conflicts of interest?
Yes.
All right, and what would that be?
My application for liquor license renewal.
Okay. All right, so we'll take that up when we get to it. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? All right.
Just make note that Trustee Roan did not vote.
I guess we're into 6.3.
Nope, we're on 7.1.
Removed consent agenda item.
So this one was removed at the request.
The 6.3?
Nope, the 7.1.
Right. But we didn't do 6.3. We don't need to.
No, that's why I said just make a note that
Got it, okay.
Trustee Roan did not vote.
I'm with you. All right, now we are on to 7.1, which is the removed consent agenda item for liquor renewal for Montezuma's.
Okay. The
All right.
Sheriff is going to make a presentation.
Good evening. Okay, I see you were on the board packet that Montezuma Mexican Restaurant has submitted for a renewal of their liquor license. And this application appears to have been dated on January the 10th of this year. It's kind of ironic because on Friday evening, January the 10th, 2025, the Colorado State Department of Revenue Liquor Enforcement Officer, Nora Herman, did a compliance check at that bar, and there was he sent in an underage person who was served. The bartender was cited for that violation of the liquor license. So his application is not truly false when he marks down that he has not been convicted, because that's true. The court date for this person won't be until the first part of March. Okay, so but this is the second such violation that has happened that's been identified. However, I can tell you that over the years I've received numerous complaints or reports from people. Some were past employees about underage serving and over-serving, serving people who were visibly intoxicated and continuing to serve, which is another violation of state statute under the liquor law. But what I'm going to suggest is that if you look at Colorado Revised Statute Title 44, Article 3, that deals with the liquor enforcement authority that the local board has, as well as what the state also has. And generally what they do is you both can do the same or different at the same time. Okay, it doesn't matter, because as we've had two other violations in the unincorporated areas of the county on liquor retail stores. They have been given suspensions of certain dates, anywhere from 3 to 5 days during certain times that they can't sell and whatnot. But in this case, understanding what you can do under Title 44 is you can administer a fine, you can require an annual renewal of their license every year. And you can either suspend or revoke the license. It's up to the local board of what you want to do. Okay. But because it appears to be a recurring issue from time to time, too often, okay, I think that it might not be a bad idea to have a public hearing and bring them in and have them discuss with you about these violation or this violation and what's going on in there, and making sure that their employees or themselves are making sure that they're identifying with proper identification of who's being served the alcohol in that establishment, and making sure that they don't overserve. It's a public safety issue in this community. It is, and I can tell you that we all know that it's a very busy place, especially during the events that we have in Dolores throughout the year, okay, at different times. And it is awful hard for us to go in when we do bar checks and stuff to catch these types of things, okay? It is, and unfortunately, it takes these type of compliance checks to catch some of these things. And you hate to see that, but that's the state. I appreciate that they're doing what they're doing to help us, all of us, with this problem and bring attention to it. And I think that's what you all want, is compliance with the laws. So that's my suggestion on it, but you're the board and you can do whatever you would like to do, and even guidance through your attorney. So
What would that look, I guess I don't know what that would look like, John.
We could move this to the next meeting, invite him to attend and have a discussion with you all.
And when is
I
the
do that.
when is the liquor license up?
Not until May.
Okay, yeah, I am a proponent of that. And also, if it came along with a suspension of whatever, do we communicate that with the state to go and enforce, or with your team to go in and look?
yes.
Yes
And
to both.
we can certainly do whatever, and we need to. And it's not to, I guess there's compliance and punishment. Okay, they're just consequences for these things. That's what it's really all about. And we want to make sure that they're complying properly. That's what I want, and I know that's what you
Yeah.
folks want. So.
Well, that's why I think a public hearing to hear what their action plan is, to not have a third violation,
Yes.
might be a good idea.
So
It's
they've
avoid.
had two so far, so what we could do is approach them with food times, you're out.
That is strictly up to you, okay? I'm not gonna make any recommendations whatsoever of what this board and local license authority, which is you, can do or should do.
I'll ask him.
So I'm gonna make a suggestion, and that is that if you're inclined to do so, is just take a voice vote on a motion, pull this renewal from the agenda today, set it out for,
Next meeting.
next meeting or March. Since this doesn't renew until May,
Yep.
we'll just notify in writing the license holder that there's going to be a public hearing, or a hearing on the renewal, invite them to attend. And I would be cautious about discussing in detail, grounds or actions that you might take today. This would be a quasi judicial action, meaning that all of you, 7 of you, are gonna be sitting basically as judges. So just be cautious about not, doing your own investigation, talking amongst yourselves, obviously. you know, taking information from third parties between now and then. But we'll notice the applicant that there will be a formal hearing on the renewal, invite them to attend, and you know, that applicant, that notice can invite them to discuss the, you know, compliance of their past violations, what their plan is going forward.
Yeah, because I think it's a good business and we want to support it, but we do want to make sure, like every business, you're complying with the law and keeping the town safe.
Yes,
Thank you,
exactly.
John, that's good advice. Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
Cool.
So
All right.
I'll make a motion to move 7.1 to a formal hearing at the next board meeting, excuse me, on February 24th, with invitation to Montezuma Restaurant to attend.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Great.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you, John. Let's see who's on the list. Sorry.
You know, bring it up, I think I'm up
You're
to
so
top.
nice. Are you at the top? All right, Noah.
Well, I'll pass around a letter that I have to you guys first,
Okay.
so that everybody can have one. I think I should have one.
Thank you.
Two as well, 'cause I have plenty. All right, so this is in regards to Zoom. It was brought up, I believe, at the last meeting, or maybe the one before that. Basically, so the Dolores Town Board holds the idea that increasing public engagement is a priority and that citizen participation is valued. But I worry when we talk about changing from the current platform, we may risk getting rid of that. And Zoom meetings in their current state offer a wide range of your constituents an opportunity to engage with their local government. For some people, it is the only way to participate. People who work, cannot get childcare, or simply can't attend the meetings in person all deserve a means to engage with their government. Zoom allows me to participate during town board and planning and zoning meetings because usually I'm at work right about now. Switching from this platform could make it harder to engage with local government and reduce transparency and limit public comment for you guys. So when discussing how to adapt to the risks of live online public discourse, the town would benefit more from training updates maybe for moderators rather than policy changes that reduce civic engagement. Do the risks truly outweigh the benefits on this? So I urge you guys to prioritize accessibility and transparency by maintaining virtual participation options. And I thank you for listening.
Thanks, Noah.
Of course, I'll tune into the rest of this online.
Just to be clear, you're not a citizen, you just have a business here.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, vested interest in Dolores. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Noah.
All right. Sarah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, so I just wanted to kind of second what Noah said about the Zoom and transparency. I think it's a good tool to use. And then I'm on the Dolores Community Center Advisory Board, and we just had a meeting last month. It went really well, and I just wanted to, touch on the minutes that were submitted. We're working on getting a Friends of the Community Center updated and going, so that's basically an outlet for volunteers. It could be donations from volunteers or time donated from volunteers, so we're excited to get that going.
Can I ask you a question? I know we're not a question and answer session, but I'm sure you have an action plan how to get those people. 'Cause I
Right.
think it's a great
Yeah,
idea.
it's gonna be a website, it's gonna be like a website link so that you can sign up and it'll funnel you through the right coordination. And then I'm working really closely with Lee and Linnea Peterson and David on ordering a new range for the kitchen over there, so, there's a lot of steps and a lot of logistics, it's not just a simple click add to cart and order, but we're really working hard. David and Lee have put in a lot of time to do that. So, again, just wanted to give kudos to David because he's really been helping us with the hood over there and just making sure everything goes according to plan. So I wanted to update you and the whole town on that, especially since we have senior lunch people pretty interested in getting a new range. So we're trying, like, we're making every step we can. Okay,
I told you
thanks.
they all held up their burnt toasts when I went to lunch with them.
Absolutely. I talked to a lady today and she wanted updates, so,
Okay, cool.
we're trying. All
Thank
right,
you, Sarah.
thanks, y'all.
Cool.
Thank you, Sarah.
Mr. Sawyer.
Michael Sawyer, 207 North 20th Street. Well, I have same with the Zooms. We use it. There's also, I know with all the hacking and different things that happen online, it's kind of dangerous, but there's also like Microsoft Teams, which is pretty easy. The town do the same thing, just put out a link. Everybody can come on board. I know there's quite a few people that don't Zoom in, but they do look at all the YouTube stuff that goes on that they just don't have time to come here. So I think it's good to keep that transparency and people can voice their opinions. And then also, I know you're going to talk about a yurt as a building structure. I don't think a yurt is a building. It's more like a tent, but people do live in them. We have them all over La Plata County, out in the county. We've got, with the big parcels, they're allowed to have like multiple yurts. And, I'm not saying that's gonna happen here, but I've seen it to where we're getting issues with a lot of partying going on. Some of them are like a little nudist colony, in fact.
That would be something.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not just saying it's your people, but we do have some problems with them. Quite a few of them came about last year, and with homeowners that have smaller parcels next to these bigger parcels, and they just, I don't know, it might be a good thing as a secondary structure, but I don't think it should be the home, more or less.
Okay.
Are they, can I ask a question? So,
Of course.
Yeah.
Michael, in La Plata County, are they allowed as a permanent year-round structure in the county, do you know?
On parcels over 30 acres.
Um,
Yeah, the bigger parcels. Yeah. Yeah, La Plata County's not really good on their zoning,
Okay.
but yeah, the bigger parcels, they don't have to go through planning.
Okay.
And they do, because they consider them not as to our full-time residents. So we do have issues with the driveway permits. After so many additional dwelling units, you have to step it up to a subdivision road.
Okay.
And some of them have had to do that, but there's a lot of resistance. So, yeah, it's just,
Thank you.
yeah, and I mean, a lot of people that have the yurts are off the grid. I don't know why they would want to have them here in town.
Right.
Tiny homes are another issue too. But thanks for your time.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Mike.
Michael.
Thanks, Mike.
Lisa?
Anybody else?
Lisa?
Do you, can anybody else still sign in to?
I'll just call afterwards and see if
Okay.
anybody wants to
Okay.
talk.
All right, and I'm here about the Zoom too. I'm here to say that I encourage you to keep offering Zoom. You might go for weeks and months without much participation, and I will be the first to say that my joining the meetings is scarce, but I do look back on the videos of the meetings to get a look at discussions. And I also know it's available if I want to see how an item is handled when I'm not physically present, so I could log in, talk to a neighbor on the way over, who works at schools, so her time is precious to her, and she said she prefers the Zoom option as well. I don't know if your issue is one of security. I don't know how you guys are handling that, if there's been a problem in the past with it, or if it's a question of cost or convenience or inconvenience. But I know that, there are other services that are offered in different areas that don't see that much action, but they're a service that is valuable when it's used. To get people involved in government these days is so important to make it as accessible as possible. So I urge you not to drop the Zoom access to the board meetings. I also like the idea of putting a little board on by the bathrooms up there to let people know what's going on too. It's more on the main road. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So, and I just want to clarify with everybody that, and I'm going to ask, when we say Zoom going away possibly because it's been recommended from other entities, I don't think it was ever on the table that YouTube would go away. Like, we'd always film them and we'd always publish. It would just be like the interactive portion, because I would say we never get anybody, for the most part, interacting in the meetings. They listen, but they could still do that during YouTube. So that was the only question or clarification.
You've got a board member who's attending.
It's on the
tonight
agenda for us to
Zoom,
speak
too.
about more later, so I'd like to speak then,
Yeah.
when it comes up on the agenda.
Who else? All right.
Hi, Marianne Mate 301 Abeta Drive. I also I'm here about Zoom. I use Google Meet all the time for my work, but I think it's really important to have it accessible, even though you may not see a lot of participation. One of the things I was thinking about is people that have kids are not going to drag their kids. They're not going to come to a meeting most likely, and it makes it a lot more accessible for parents with young children. And I think it is important. I'm glad you have it on YouTube later to take a look at. Maybe there's not a lot of participation because you guys are doing a good job and there's not a lot of controversy right now. But I think it is important to have it accessible to people. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. I love that I guessed this one wrong. I thought this was a very innocuous issue, but apparently it has a lot of good opinions around it, which is awesome. Anybody else?
Sweet.
No, okay, then we're moving on.
Hang on, we have somebody online.
Oh, we do?
Yeah,
All right.
that would like to address.
Awesome.
Go ahead, and Rachel, you have to unmute yourself.
Hi, Rachel.
Okay, can you hear me, guys?
Yep.
Oh, hey, it worked. Zoom. Video? I must be on video. It looks like
we're
I
watching
am.
you and hearing you.
Okay, very good. Thanks. I own 204 South 5th Street. I've lived here for 29 years. I work out of state and I bring my profits back here to spend. As such, I rent out my house when I'm at work and I pay local property managers. Guests who stay at my house also pepper this area with their vacation dollars. I appreciate the work you all do on a consistent basis to benefit the town and its residents. I'd like to address two items. I mean, really, every time I'm so appreciative of the work that you guys do. So thank you. So item number one, there's been chatter about raising the short-term rental permit fee because Mancus charges, I don't know, $750, and that concerns me. Most town businesses pay a $25 business license and they are good to go. However, local short-term rentals must also buy an additional license that's 5 to 10 times the cost of a business license. We no longer have a local hotel to accommodate tourists. Fortunately, that hotel now provides long-term housing. I provide tourist housing, and I wonder what I am getting in return for my additional short-term rental fee. Can you make a case for why my type of very necessary and beneficial operation is singled out to pay an additional license fee, which I'll pay it, it's fine. But increasing it arbitrarily is a red flag that just might not be a great reflection on fairness. It's feeling a little punitive. So anyway, just something to consider. Item number 2, yes, Zoom comments like the one I'm doing now. I'm not in the state. The suggestion that town government remove the ability for public participation via Zoom concerns me. On one hand, the board and staff have discussed wanting to be more transparent and make it easier for citizens to approach. On the other hand, you're talking about limiting participation from the public. Basically because there is the potential of, I guess, I don't know, some nakedness being hijacked into our screens momentarily, as I understand it. I surveyed some towns around here. All of them broadcast meetings live on the internet. About half of them also allow virtual public comment. Dolores, Mancus, Telluride, Dove Creek all allow virtual comment like the one I'm making now. And actually, so does the county of Maui, Hawaii. Cortez, Durango, and Pagosa Springs do not. They require oral comments to be in person. I think, COVID irrevocably changed the world. The idea that we should revert to pre-COVID ways because one pandemic has passed strikes me as naive or short-sighted. When I'm there in town, I come to meetings in person, but the option of making virtual comment has been really important for me in terms of town participation. And I'm there for the long haul, have been, will be. So I just urge you, please carefully consider the risk versus the reward. If you remove the ability for virtual public participation, I believe you also remove the ability for staff and trustees to participate virtually. I think it's good for the goose, good for the gander. You can't allow Chris Curry to chime in on his Zoom connection and not allow public comment. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I just, are you guys willing to forego the convenience of attending a meeting from somewhere besides that room if you happen to be out on other business or whatever? Mostly what I want to say is let's consider a technical solution to this potential technical problem as opposed to a policy solution to this potential technical problem, photo bombs or hijacking or whatever it is. Especially since you guys, and my hat's off for trying to foster a more approachable presence. Thank you for your service and keep up the great work.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rachel.
Awesome. All right, we have staff. Is there anybody else before we go on? No. All right, we'll start with the Galloping Goose.
Galloping Goose has a problem is someone's trying to give us money and we don't really have a project to put it to. So I'm seeking a resolution from the town to kind of solidify support I had received from Ken Charles and also what was is currently on the site plan for the Flanders Park. Pass this out.
Thank you.
I don't have any extras. So we suggested to Ken Charles that we build a picnic shelter with the town at the end of our 4th Street track. We would use it during the winter to store the goose, and then in the summer we would move the goose up to the museum and it would be used as a picnic shelter. And then the can got kicked down the road The town decided they needed toilets. I had suggested a funding source to Ken Charles to use CDOT as a funding source. And he used that for the toilets instead of the picnic shelter. Well, so that kind of got kicked down the road again, like I said. Last fall, we had a gentleman who rode with our excursions, and he wanted to give us money. And we asked, well, what are some of your long-term plans? And I said, well, you know, we really don't have winter storage for the goose. And I said, we had made a suggestion to the town, but then I was told that the town wanted to do Joe Morale Park first, and I'd have to wait my turn. Well, this gentleman started giving us money. And right now, I don't feel I have anything definite from the town committing to this project, and I really don't want to accept his money under false pretense. I mean, so what I'm seeking is a resolution from the town supporting the building of a picnic shelter slash goose park. So that's what I'm asking for. If you turn a couple pages, you can see what other towns have done this on the west slope to protect their railroad equipment or provide protection. The one at the bottom there is kind of like a picture of a picnic pavilion. That looks a heck of a lot better than anyone else has done. And it's, again, the town has a total say in the matter. I haven't talked who's gonna own it, or I would like to set up something similar to what the people have done with the bicycle park, and set up fundraising, an account through Onward or something like that. So we could then have a way of segregating that money from our pot of money, our business.
And Joe, in the summer, it could be used as a picnic shelter because the goose could be outside on the track.
Yeah, well, I mean, most people visit in the summer the museum, and it helps to have the goose at one end of the same end of the park and not the other end.
Okay.
And now that that's in good shape and it runs and we can move it.
Yeah.
And I realize I'm kind of pushing the issue here because this is basically site planning for Flanders Park, and I'm not sure that's on the town's agenda for this year. But I'm just I feel uncomfortable taking substantial money for something that may never happen if I don't. So I'm seeking some reassurance from the town.
I think Flanders is on the schedule for next year, right?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Right. I mean, we'd have to get funding.
Right.
Doesn't mean that this project can't go forward. I think
That's right.
you should just let me know and I'll do some more research.
Okay.
With and around the issues, and we can make it a presentation.
I mean,
I think he's asking, maybe, if I can summarize, you're asking like, should you go forward and collect money?
Well,
because we're going to.
The guy's already given me money.
Support this
bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm seeking reassurance from the town that this is a viable project.
So Mayor, if I could speak on this for just a minute?
Speak away.
Okay. So there's a long-term lease for the museum and the track to occupy part of Flanders Park. That lease was renegotiated, I think 2022, 2023, around in there. And the configuration of what the Historical Society is using was kind of reconfigured. What I would suggest doing, if this is something that the trustees would like to explore further, meaning passing a resolution at a future meeting supporting the construction, are we calling it a hut?
Well, on the site plan, it calls it a goose port.
A goose port.
I don't know where that came from.
A port.
As
What I would
opposed to a
suggest
shelter,
is I'd like to pull that lease out, take a look at it, the amended one. Just look at the site plan and the language in it, see if there's any changes to it, see if that lease would accommodate this. I'm gonna suggest that we might want to specifically address the port in the lease. And we could come back at a future meeting with a resolution if that would be,
That's good.
if you want to move forward in that direction.
Could that be like a workshop,
Could be a workshop, yeah.
you know, with the possibility of,
Well, even if, you know,
Meeting.
John did the homework you're talking about, could provide that information for us, and then Lee, if you could spend
Yeah,
some time.
my recollection of the lease is it talks about maintaining the track. It talks about storing the historical boxcars, talks about the building. I don't remember anything, and I could be wrong.
There's nothing in there
I
about.
I don't remember anything about the port.
Yeah,
And so we probably would want to amend the lease to address that. I think it would be very simple to do. But if
You know,
that's something that the trustees want to pursue, I'd recommend starting there.
That sounds like a logical first step, reviewing the lease and then moving toward perhaps a site plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll also
Yeah.
have to make sure that where the goose is, we can't have the goose block the bathroom entrance.
Roger that.
I mean, the
Oh,
back
behind it,
entrance.
yeah.
And I think in that picture he has, it might show that the water tower thing gets removed to make room for that. So we can look at all those things, we can certainly talk about it
Yeah.
in a workshop if you'd like, or we can,
I don't know that we need a workshop, I think we just need.
yeah.
Yeah, because the question also is, does it have to be behind the bathroom or can it be in the middle?
Sure.
Right, because here's the goose, here's the bathroom, here's a bunch of space, it could be here too.
I mean, up tight against Fourth Street. Is that what you're saying, or?
Well,
going
the
other
track
way?
is just going from the goose to,
Yeah.
yeah.
In between
Like,
the building and the bathroom.
Well, yeah, you know, one of our members suggested we put an S into our track so we can then line up
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go into the museum.
yeah, because we're not
shelter.
moving the bathroom, so we'll
Yeah,
we'll
no.
just have to work around
You
it.
know, and then the other issue is who's gonna own the structure, which
Yeah.
means who's gonna maintain it.
The goose carries all insurance on it, right?
Yeah,
So like, because that was my concern, like in the winter, is it locked up? You know, is it a structure that's locked up and we can take off the doors in the summertime or something for safety purposes?
Structures
or-
have doors, do they?
yeah.
No,
Just
that
kind of
was my question, like if
cardboard,
somebody comes
like-
in at 3 in the morning and decides to, do we have to build a structure with
Well, you know,
cameras?
yeah,
and-
well, you know, it's been that way for what, since,
Since
yeah,
dawn.
since 1953,
Yeah, 'cause
and,
we love the goose, we don't want
yeah,
anything to
you
happen
know,
to
and
it.
what's amazing is that, knock on wood, we've never suffered any vandalism,
Yeah,
so.
and so is this party wanting to fund the entire goose port?
Not all of it, but he's making a substantial, he put down a substantial down payment, and now he's cutting a check every month.
And then you could create a fundraiser for,
Well, yeah, for more, you know, and we're looking to match some kind of
yeah.
other funding, you know?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how much money you guys wanna spend, I mean, it shouldn't cost as much as
We're in the hole
as
right now.
toilets. Right,
So-
no, I'm just saying that, I mean, if you wanna do it on the cheap, you can put a hay barn at one
Well,
and call it a, but
don't
I
think
think
anybody
the
wants to do it
town
on
needs
the
more
cheap.
than that, yeah.
Yeah.
We just need to plan it out
Yeah,
and have
yeah.
a methodical plan.
Yeah, you know,
If you
and
remember, the Galloping Goose Historical Society is now an enterprise zone, so when they can get tax breaks for people that
Awesome.
donate.
We love that.
yeah.
So am I hearing,
So first step, why don't you take a peek at that
Yeah.
lease and get back to us as soon as.
So it sounds like people are supportive.
okay,
Yep.
Moving on.
Yeah, I mean, just, step at a time, I think, and see where
So
we're
we're
at.
supportive of the fact finding.
Fact finding, yeah, we're fact finding right now.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't wanna take this take this guy's money under false pretenses.
I will.
You know, so,
And you'd want to be clear about that the town
I'll
at
take
this
it.
point is not.
yeah, well, I already have, you know, he's gung ho on it. So,
Okay, good.
Okay,
No, this is
thank you.
good, this is great.
thank you.
And good renditions you provided.
All right.
Sheriff.
Hello again. Okay. Calls for service were in your package for the month of January 2025. Also shows that we had 96 calls for the month. Probably the most important thing is on the 31st we had, you'll see in there was a report of a man with a gun. This was on Eric Street. This also ended up being just a mental subject, which is also in your calls for service. This was something that, again, I need to put a big plug in for the CIP team because they really assisted with this individual who needed help. He had been up in Telluride where he did not receive any assistance up there at all. His folks live here, which is why he was here, and it ended up being an issue at this residence at this time. And but the deputies responded along with the ambulance and CIP, and it turned out very successfully. Parents were very appreciative of everything that took place because they know that he's going to get the help, and he is getting the help that he needs, which it turned out it was not the dangerous situation it was reported to be. Okay, but still, when you see that, I knew you would have a question about it, so I wanted to bring that up. Other than that, we've had, of course, increase in traffic on the weekends, but of course, as you see with the school days, Monday through Thursday, you have your rush hours still. It's an issue over there on Central and between 11th and
The rolling stuff.
It'll always be that way, you know, but, and 12th Street, but it's going pretty smoothly and whatnot, okay? Other than that, I don't have anything further. Do you have any questions?
I have a question. I had an interesting experience at City Market parking lot last Monday.
The what?
I had an interesting experience at City Market parking lot last Monday.
In City Market?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
There was a tower.
There's an interesting thing that happens at City Market parking lot every day. Yes.
I know, but you know more about that than I do because I'm not there that often.
Oh.
But it was a tower and it had had megaphones on it, and it said, "Roll up your window, keep your windows closed, your doors locked, and pay attention to your surroundings." First, I'm like, who's saying that? So I sat there and waited, and it was about 10 to 15 minutes later, and it came on again.
Yeah.
And then when I was there yesterday, it was gone.
Yeah, I don't know anything about
Really?
that. Yeah, I really don't. But that's good advice, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Are you sure it was a tower? I don't know. That's good
I thought
advice.
it was really good advice, you know, but it just was like a little strange.
Yeah. And we all should.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children
That's right. Where your car is, right?
All right, thank you, Sheriff.
Sheriff, can I ask you a question?
Oh.
Do you have any sense so far about how much difference our behavioral speed signs at each end of town
You know
are
what?
making?
I'm glad I was asked that question, I think,
Slow
last
me
week.
down.
And I'll tell you, it's doing really well.
That's what
It really
my
is
sense
helping a
Okay.
bunch. Yeah.
Good.
It really grabs people's attention,
Yeah.
and I see it. I
Yeah.
see it every day.
Okay.
I see that it is making a big difference. Yeah, it sure is.
It's a good question.
Good.
Yeah.
It's always nice to get a follow-up on that, because
Yeah.
I think people did used to just fly into town down they're downhill the whole way.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Good. I'm glad that's
you can
okay.
tell. And I think the biggest part is that other people see it,
And then.
and you know that, right?
It's
Other people are
look, you
seeing
see
what
what
you're
you do.
doing. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
5 more of those, please. All right, Lee.
Okay, hopefully everybody had a chance to look at my report.
Yep.
Are there any particular questions that we have?
Are you gonna go down and we ask questions then?
I wasn't really planning on it, do you want me to?
The only question I
Trying
want
to cut our time
some
down.
further explanation on, and you have explained it to me, but I found it confusing.
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit of expansion on the ICC rating.
sure. So, and David, you can jump in here anytime too. So when you have an ICC is International.
International Code Council.
Yeah, and so, because we have our, what are we, 2021 building code?
Yep.
And we have, you guys went through that training with Spratlin and, Tom McNamara. And, you know, additional, Sam Light was here, that sort of thing, that all ties into, and because we have building codes and we follow those building codes, we would get a better rating on FEMA insurance, so flood insurance, because we follow the, you know, we're, like, when the school comes in to build a new school, it's gonna have to be 2 feet above the HAG, as opposed to, because we don't know what the BFE is. I mean, we do, but there's none set, so.
Is this a rating?
Base flood elevation.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's the same reason we had to put the bathroom up, right? Because we're in a flood zone, and so because we follow those things, in theory, you would get a break on your FEMA purchase flood insurance. Okay, so when I bought my house, I got flood insurance from a private entity. So what we've discovered, Ann and David working together discovered that the paperwork to actually get that bonus from FEMA has not been filled out. And so
For a long time.
long time. So David is now working on that.
Okay.
And then we will see anywhere between 20 and 30%.
35%.
35%.
Okay.
So if you buy FEMA flood insurance, not private flood insurance, so I'll be switching.
Well, it affects the private as well.
Okay.
It what?
It affects the private as well.
So
I'm sorry, 2 people are talking at the same time.
This is called the Community Risk System, CRS.
Right.
It's managed by FEMA, controlled by ISO, which is they're the company that grade the communities. And the rating affects the FEMA flood rates. It also affects individual flood rates, so private flooding rates. Because they use by law, they have to use the same information that FEMA uses. In the past, I don't know how it happened, but the proper paperwork was never filled out. It's pretty extensive, which is maybe why it didn't get filled out. There's a lot of stuff that the town has to do in order to do that. For example, all of the town's buildings, our town-owned buildings, we have to have FEMA flood insurance on those buildings. Okay? So there's a whole bunch, there's 42 pages of checkbox stuff that I have to work through.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. We have one of the best ratings in the area for our building codes. The building codes are a huge portion of this. And right on the FEMA paperwork that they sent to me, it says, if you score this much, you're gonna, for every class improvement, you get a 5% reduction in the FEMA flood insurance rates. Ann brought her flood insurance stuff in and said, I'm not getting a discount for, so I looked at it, and under CRS, we're getting no credit. So I called FEMA, and they're like, well, you're not signed up in the program. And she goes, I don't understand why you're not, because you have, I'm looking at your rating, and it's outstanding. So she says, you need to take advantage of this and you'll get this reduction in your flood rates. So that's what I'm working on right now, is trying to get that all together. So,
And then if someone has private flood insurance, that would reflect to them as well.
yes.
By having the FEMA.
By having this rating, the CRS rating,
Yes.
right, Community Risk System rating,
Okay. Which is what you're doing
that
now.
applies to all insurances across the board. The FEMA a FEMA-backed mortgage or federally backed mortgage, you have to have FEMA flood rates. You can't have any other kind of flood insurance.
Oh, okay.
Is it flood and fire or just flood?
This is solely flood.
Flood.
There's a whole nother rating that the fire department has, the PPC rating that the fire department has, that affects your fire insurance rates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And David, can I ask one quick question on clarifying? FEMA only insures up to so much before you have to go and pursue private insurance. Is that correct? Like 250,000, I think I remember reading.
I don't know that for a fact. I would be answering incorrectly. I don't know.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Anything else? Because I'm gonna, when we get to 13, I'll be leading that discussion.
Nothing to me.
Go ahead. Did you have something?
Well, I'm concerned about, when you report about your workload and you talking further about that.
Yeah, which is what is facilitating 13. So
Okay.
if you guys prioritize for me, then we can get the staff and myself to do.
So Lee and I talked about it a little bit, and it's more like, I guess, us being definitive in what we want them to pursue.
Sure.
And I think that we all have great opinions, but we sometimes ask for hypotheticals. Like, let's discuss this and let's find out information, but we need to maybe have more thorough conversations in the beginning and say, yes, we do want to pursue this, or no, we don't. Because I think the town is maybe spinning their wheels on stuff that we're not eventually going to pursue.
That's certainly part of it. And it's just like the goose discussion. So John will work on his piece, I'll work on my piece, and we'll come back and make a presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just that, it's sometimes I don't know where to go, and so I spend a lot of time looking up land use codes and, whatever kind of stuff to make sure that I'm going in the direction that you all want.
Yeah, we need to be more help.
And that's that's what prompted 13. Usually we don't have a lot of discussion, but that's what prompted 13.1 through 5.
Okay.
If you can just let me know whether these are things we really want to do. I don't mind doing the work. That's not my intention at all. I just want to make sure I don't put
But we have to be more clear.
10 hours into something and then you're like, oh, we didn't want that anyway.
Okay.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
It's on the Fishing is Fun grant.
Sure.
Those funds are there, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually talked to CPW the other day, Ken and I, when I say we, and they go, okay, we're gonna Frankenstein your application and give you some more money. Because what it will cost wasn't what it was
Because of inflation.
dictated to cost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So they put in so that we could get more funding to actually complete it in full.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like funds we have to come up with
Nope.
as a town, but what?
Because the match on that is from the GOCO grant.
Okay.
So when it comes to fishing is fun, we don't have to put up.
You got your
Technically,
fishing pole
anyway.
ready?
I have poles, but they're not.
Yeah,
I'll
and
go
just
out with you. We can sit one day and
everyone now
Get
knows
some
the
fish.
Flanders Park bathroom is open to the
Yep.
public again. It's all been
Good job.
repaired.
And to your very good point last time, are we getting any compensation for
Well,
hours or anything?
I'm gonna talk to Jay. We still have the parking lot to do, so.
Maybe
that
offset
could
it
be
with
a-
some of the.
Exactly.
I thought that was a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Always
if it's
looking at the
only
bottom
fair.
line. Business
Yeah.
owner.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bottom lines get kind of thin once in a while.
Kelly,
for sure.
thank you.
Ready
Lee.
for me?
We're ready for you.
No, I got it.
You can take notes on your own.
Right, I got me. Okay, so this is, in your packet, you should have a brief budget analysis page. And I am very open to suggestions. We played with several different formats. The idea being that we want it to reflect our expectations and our, both our expectations of what we thought we would have coming in and what we would have going out, and give you a good idea of how we're meeting the overall budget, but without overinflating certain aspects. So when you look at January,
For example, the tax revenue, we initially expected that we would have a large amount, and then as we know, we had some changes in the sales tax income. So when you see that the percent of the expected was 9%, then you'll see that the rationale right there is next to it. So it is going, that in particular should be a number that will grow throughout the 12 months, and we're hoping that the 12-month period will get us back on track for the one loss in January. Some of the other things that we adjusted was, if you look at the water operations expense, our overall budget for the month was high because we were expecting to pay for that roof. And so the expectation and the actual were actually quite close to one another, even though our water operations budget is not going to be $48,000 or $54,000 per month. The majority of the money we were expecting to pay out of that bill did fall in this month. And so, behind the scenes, there's a calculation that I've done to allot what we would be paying in water operations prior and without the roof, and then adding in the percentage of the roof to show that we are slightly over, but not significantly over the expected amount based on the budget.
And you color coded the...
Correct. So red would be a number where we fell short in our revenues or went over in our expenditures. So those would be numbers we would have some concern and continue to monitor. And then on the opposite end of that, green would be something where we exceeded revenues or we were less in our expenditures. So an example would be that we had significantly more licenses come in this month than we were anticipating. So we were at 136%. We made more money there than we budgeted, and not because we were planning on making more licenses or having more license income there. Similarly, we spent slightly less in the community center and in on our IT bills than we were anticipating. So that's money that we can bank for a later period of time. And then what I'd like to do over the next few months is carry some of that data forward so that we at the end of the quarter can see if we're on track or on pattern with what we think our budget should be. That way, as we make amendments, we know if we're really overshooting one area or undershooting one area, instead of waiting until the end of the year and being like, oh, we didn't make enough money there, or we way overspent on this. I'd like to be able to pick that up, because we would see a red number 3 months in a row, and we'd be thinking we need to reevaluate what we're doing in this area, and then we can address that as a larger, as a board. And so the rationale for each one of the individuals is on the side, and then a larger rationale at the very bottom. But again, just like the budget, this is line by line, every single purchase that we make on the in the background that pulls forward into these more consolidated categories. Does this layout seem to make sense to you guys?
My question is the percent expected, or is this analysis month to month going to continue, so we'll basically have this page times 12 at the end of the year, or?
So the percentage of expected, what I did, so initially I did it as a 12th of the budget, but then I found that actually was somewhat confusing because it wasn't taking into the roof, the
special projects.
Right, some of those things, we aren't expecting to get grant money this month because we're not doing anything. So it looks like we're way behind there on our revenues. So instead, the percent of expected is a calculation specific to January. So what I think I will be doing is carrying that percent of expected month to month forward, and then we'll have our total for the month. So you would next month have January and February in one column that compares it to the big budget, and then you'll have February compared to the expectations of February in particular, and then those percentages to show you if we were on in February. So we can do bigger trends year round. So when we get to March, when we get to April, when we get to May, those numbers will start to see the tax revenue start to pull up as we are expecting it to balance out. But the month to month will also give you a detail of that month. We went over big time in parks in March for some reason, and then we can dig down and do some more deeper dive or questions if somebody has questions on that stuff.
which is great. Maybe we can have a monthly, just overall rating also.
Sure.
Like, these are all great, but like for January, are we green, red, or yellow?
Right. Yeah, and I think
Altogether.
that, yeah, big picture, like, it's a, you know,
Big
this,
picture.
this month was a bad, you know,
We're on
a bummer
track.
because we have that nice big red 9% at the
Yeah.
top, but we all know about that. We're adjusting for that. Everything else is pretty well on track with what we're expecting and hoping things would be. And then hopefully you can look at that rationale and you can see that there's a very clear reason for why each line has deviated from the 100% or being on track.
I think it'll be easier to understand when we have the next month's there.
Right. Right.
As to how the flow is gonna
Right.
move forward.
And more numbers.
I think
Yes.
it looks great.
Okay, perfect. And then if there is any other kind of feedback or detailed information that you'd like to see, just shoot me a text or an email. That way I can keep tailoring it to your expectations and the kind of information that you guys want to see.
Okay. Awesome.
All right, great.
How many times did you have to redo it?
I made 6.
Good job.
Thank you.
6 times the charm. John?
Yeah. Can you share the screen there?
I'll try.
Don't grin this.
I know, the problem with it is it's been causing problems.
Okay.
I know, right?
Okay. So when we get to the discussion of the Zoom meetings, I've got some information I think might be helpful, but I'll save that powder until we get to that point. But in the packet today is the existing marijuana code, and maybe David, you could pull that up if you can't share the screen.
Well, we're gonna try, so you
Okay.
have control.
All right, let me give it
See
a
if
shot
we
here.
are still here when you're done.
Thank you for showing the edits. That was greatly appreciated.
Yeah,
That's a
so
very long document.
what I want to, just a couple of things to keep in mind with the marijuana code. Currently, we allow testing and manufacturing in an industrial zone, but we don't have an industrial zone. So if the town ever annexes or decides we're gonna create an industrial zone, manufacturing and testing can be allowed. But right now, it's kind of a pointless deal until someday the town has an industrial zone, and I don't know how that would happen, but if it ever did, we can do it, okay? There are some categories of things that have come up since the code was adopted that we don't allow. One of them is, and I forget what the technical term for it is, but it's on-premises consumption. So it's basically like a bar where you go in and consume marijuana products, smoke marijuana products on site. It's a marijuana bar, if you would. Our code doesn't allow for that. These proposed changes don't allow for it. If that's something the trustees want me to look at when I present an ordinance, we can certainly do that. But I just want to make you aware that option is out there. The sheriff is smiling. He doesn't want to do that. It could, I think when I took a class on this last fall, I want to say the regulatory agency mentioned it was about 3 or 4 of those are licensed statewide, and they're all on the Front Range. So, whatever that's worth. The other one is kind of the concierge delivery service thing. We're not allowing that in our code. That's something that's new. There's a few of those that are licensed. I know there's one up in Telluride. When I looked, they have one of those that's licensed there where they're allowed to basically do.
Like an Uber Eats kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or like an old school pot dealer that just comes to your house.
Something like that. Or you a good business model. Uber Eats plus the.
Yeah, right?
Uber. So, but that's not allowed in the code. So if that's something the trustees want to take a look at, I didn't make that kind of change in there. But those are some new categories that are out there. There's no changes to the occupation tax in here. There was a request that we look at that last year, but I think after that store came under new management, I think they realized that it was their management was the problem, not the tax, and
Okay.
we haven't heard anything since. So I'm kind of suggesting we just leave it the way it is. That seems to be pretty comparable to, what other communities are doing, so we'll leave that alone if that's good with you guys. Leave the
I
occupation
think for
tax
all
as
of
it
these,
is.
unless there's a request, there's no reason to go down the path.
Yeah. Other change that I'm proposing in there is since we adopted that code initially, what the state really preferred to see was that you got your local licensing going before you were granted a state license. And now that kind of model is reversed. Municipalities that have updated their codes are now saying, go get your state license, your operator's license, then come and apply with us, okay? So we've had this second license available now since we started. There is some interest right at the very beginning to fill that second license. I don't think there's been any interest in that second license since, it's been a couple of years at least. And I think the reason for that has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with just the business has changed. When I took that class last year, it was interesting just looking, and I think I did a little presentation on that, just the sales have remained flat. The number of stores statewide have remained flat. It's just a different business environment for marijuana. So one of the major changes I'm proposing in here making is just, if somebody wants to apply for that second license, go get your state license first, then come to us and we'll talk about a location and get you to apply. That way, they've done all the screening, we can do a little bit of additional background check, but we've made the state do all the heavy lifting with that. So, yeah. The rest of the changes are to bring the current definitions into compliance with state law. So, for example, it's no longer a center, it's a store. That type of thing. Some of the statutory references have changed. And so where our code is a little bit at odds or out of date, I've made some changes there, but none of that is really substantive. So it's no longer a medical marijuana business. It is now a medical marijuana store operator, okay? By way of example. It's no longer a medical cultivation, it's a medical cultivation facility.
Is that a state designation?
Yeah, so they
That it's
went
called
through.
medical?
Yeah, so they went through, there's a medical license and a retail license. And I think, the reason why that medical license is still there is people are using that and saying, I got a doctor to prescribe this for me.
Got it.
And therefore, I'm not violating probation. Therefore,
I
I'm
see.
not, therefore I'm 19 and I can use this legally, right, Sheriff?
So it's their
Yeah.
license that they applied for.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
the
got
the
it.
individual consumer is applying for that medical marijuana license. And that's the reason why that stuck around. If you have an employer that says, hey, this is prescribed by a doctor, we'll waive our drug policy, something like that. And that's why that still exists.
Strange.
I don't think there's a single standalone medical marijuana store left in the state. Everything is a combined. But the licenses are separate. So typically, like our code allows, you apply for both a retail and a medical, and they're all there under the same roof, and it just depends on, I guess, whatever is going on at their point of sale software, how they designate the sales. So, I think I want to just answer any questions there might have out there. If there's anything with some of these new licensing type of categories you want to explore, I'd like to know that. Otherwise, I can just take this and turn it into a first reading for an ordinance form at our next meeting or in March, whenever you want to put that on the agenda.
Great.
It sounds good, yeah.
Yeah.
I read through it, it seemed pretty straightforward, and the changes,
Yeah.
mostly, to comply with the state language of
Yeah.
store rather than business and that kind of things.
Yeah.
Funny.
And so, I mean, this is a relatively new ordinance. It was just, fairly recently adopted. The next thing we're going to tackle is the liquor code in the municipal code. And those are gonna be some interesting, quite major changes. So for example, our current liquor code still allows certain calls for the sale of 3-2 beer. Bit outdated. So we're gonna have some revisions to do for the liquor code when that comes up. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then I'll let you know what I found with the Zoom meeting and presentation when we get to that point of the discussion.
Thank you.
Okay?
Good job.
Sheriff, any comments on?
None.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
This is not the one for you to comment on. We already know what you want to say. All right. Honorable Commissioner.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'll make this short and sweet because it sounds like you guys are trying to expedite things, and I'm okay with that. We had some department head meetings today. One of the biggest things that came up, talking to the treasurer and the assessor, that you guys may be getting phone calls on, because now that the tax bills are actually out, people are looking at their tax bills and they're wondering why did they go up so high, right? Well, in the town of Dolores, you have the highest mill levy that we have in Montezuma County, and it is at 93.830500. And the reason for that is because of the school district. The school district was at 33.961, and this year it now is at 49.524. And the reason for that is the 11,210,000 bond that was voted on in '23. Along with the mill that passed again. So if you guys do get that, people have a tendency to forget that, hey, they voted on all these, and we then get bombarded. So if you guys can kind of get that word out there, it's like, hey, these are now have to be collected. So
I actually talked to Leslie and
okay.
informed the staff so they know what to say.
Okay, cool. Because it sounded like they were getting hit pretty hard, and they're like,
Yeah.
we just put on the tax roll what you guys vote. So that's why it's so high, and you are the highest in Montezuma County.
We're number one.
So you're number one.
I do think that's interesting. You brought that up. A great point. We should maybe, like we've done a great job at the water bill.
Sure.
Like maybe do a little gentle reminder. Like
Yeah, we can.
to your point,
Well,
this
I'm
is
just-
why.
Yeah, I'm just,
No, I think it's a great
in case
idea.
you guys get hit for it, because, that is coming out, and everybody, will vote on
Yeah,
something,
reminders are
lose their
good.
mind, and then all of a sudden they're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
What did we do?
Because it's hard to connect the dots sometimes. Like, oh, I voted on this 6 months ago, and now it's happening.
Yeah, or a year
So
ago.
we'll help people connect the dots.
Yeah, and now it's happening.
Yeah.
A couple other things to highlight in there from our department head meeting today. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but we do have all of our MoCo buses wrapped, so they're all pretty visual. They're purple with white, and they actually look pretty cool. So if you see them going down the road, those actually are all of our buses that we have out there that we're working for our transportation and get a lot of our funding from CDOT.
And those are free of charge, right?
They're what?
Are they free of charge? buses, like, for
Not all of them are free of charge.
Okay.
They do scheduled rides, and I don't wanna talk out of turn because I'm not sure what the rates are, but you can call Kelly and or one of the gals down there and they'll give you the actual rates. But you can pull it up online too.
Okay.
But they do go a lot of places, and even out of town to take people to Durango, Farmington, wherever you need to be. But there is a greater charge for that because they can't just go out of town and not have a charge. The route that we were running to try and do like a pilot program up to Rico, there's just not enough volume. It just didn't work out. And let's see, gosh, there's 100 things I could talk to you about, but I'll keep it real short and sweet. Do you have any questions? Okay.
Great.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Before we go any further, Susan, you're not on the agenda, but did you have something you wanted to address with us?
I'll come up and talk real quick. Hello, Susan Lysak, Dolores Chamber of Commerce. I don't have a whole lot to say other than we're working on events for 2025. We had a chamber board meeting and we'll have another bigger chamber meeting next month, but I'm hopefully meeting with Lee this week. And we just had a fundraiser for Operation Graduation over the weekend, and I appreciate all the town board members.
What a gift
that showed
card.
up. Yep. They gave away a lot of prizes, and I think we got just around $2,000 for them.
Awesome.
So
That's great.
We'll be adding some money as the Rotary Club tomorrow in our meeting, and then giving them a check this week. So that's really all I have
That's
to
a
say.
fun event.
Yep, we're hoping to do it more for other organizations.
Did you
so.
want anything?
No, but that's fine. I had fun.
The visitor center is still closed until May. Next month, we'll probably start looking at organizing and getting all the magazines and all the stuff ordered, all the rack cards and everything. The trash dumpster is still actually being used quite a lot. I'm surprised. Usually over the winter time, I usually stop the pickups between December and April, and I'm gonna have to do a pickup here soon because it's almost full, so. So it's being used. Doggy wash is closed, but we'll reopen that in May when we open up the visitor center.
Awesome.
And let's see, anything else? The chamber is going to be helping out Montezuma Leadership Network with Lunch and Learn, so we're going to be partnering with them probably this month, and then going every month as well to have businesses be able to come together to talk about different items for Lunch and Learns.
They're coming to Osprey on Thursday.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. So we're just looking at, they're probably going to use the visitor center for the first one, but after that, looking at different restaurants or other businesses in town to have them.
Is the visitor center open on May 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless it's a Sunday, then it'll be May 2.
Okay. All right. I always have customers who ask.
Yeah, usually May 1st is the usual opening date unless it's on a day we're normally off.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Is Randy online? Does he have a report for us?
He's not online.
Okay, no report from Randy, unless
It's
you're
in
giving
writing.
one.
No,
Oh,
it's in writing.
just
Yeah.
that, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in.
Yep, it was great, very thorough. David, anything for us?
I mean, our report was written in writing too.
Okay.
I think we're gonna talk about some of the water stuff later, so.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to trustee reports. I will go first, since I'm first on the list. Thank you, everybody, and especially Rachel and Noah and Sarah and everybody else, for Mary Ann for giving us good Zoom feedback. I had brought it up just as a hypothetical, like, what do you think? So I was very happy to get all this feedback, and we'll talk about it later and make a decision. Sarah brought up the stove. Lee has brought it up before. What is the timeline on that, do you think?
We're gonna order it tomorrow,
Okay,
and then there's a lot of coordination. David actually got somebody to donate the adjustments to the hood,
okay.
so that's good for us.
Can we install it, or does somebody else need to install it? No.
We have to have a license plumber.
Oh, okay.
So it's just a matter of coordination. So first we have to order it to see when it will get here,
Yeah,
and then we have to remove the other two. We have to put that
Okay.
one in. I'm gonna try and time it so that all the major work happens on a Friday, so that we don't have to lose seniors' lunch. Now,
Awesome.
can they do something else like crock pots? For sure they can. So.
grilled cheese again?
This will have
Okay.
a griddle. Makes grilled cheese super easy.
All right. We had talked about, and we could talk about it at a further meeting, having a coordination meeting on yard cleanups.
Sure.
Maybe do we want to move to 2 a year, which in the board to board, we all kind of was like, oh, that's a great idea. But I guess we would need, okay, so as a board, do we want to pursue 2?
I think it would be nice.
Okay, just to be getting on Lee's page, like, clear direction. So it sounds like the board does want 2, if we can make it happen, or coordinate with Cortez when they do theirs and borrow their trucks or something.
No, it would still be like Mancus, a drop-off situation.
Oh, drop off or whatever, and then we could possibly see if there's somebody elderly or incapacitated to
Sure.
help them.
I think we had one person ask and we had
Okay.
them last time.
That's good to at least offer.
Sure.
And then, when do you anticipate we'd want to talk about or have a kickoff for farmers market? It opens what, May? June. So, April, we talk about it, or when?
Yeah, April's fine. April workshop?
That was a very open question. I didn't know when we wanted to talk about it, but.
Sure.
Seemed like maybe March would be a little better just because, and Susan mentioned to me the other day that she had an email list of current vendors.
Sure.
And farmers, and so that might be something we want to go through and give ourselves plenty of time to
Okay.
put a game plan together.
We'll put it in the March workshop.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Thank you, Lee, for this great rundown and your team for giving us good recaps this week. Kaylin, over to you.
Nothing, sir.
Nothing for Kaylin. Madam Wheeler.
Yeah, and may I ask why we went to 5:30 meetings? Why we moved to 5:30 meetings?
We had talked about it because one was at 6:30, one was at 5:30, and we just had discussed it and voted and moved it to 5:30 to be consistent.
Because it's been brought to my attention a number of times that people can't make it to 5:30 because of kids getting home from work, having to feed kids, whatever. And so I said that I would bring it up at the meeting about moving it back to 6:30. So that people could get on Zoom, people could have time to get home from work.
There was also a staffing issue that's
keeping them so late.
Yeah, keeping the staff so late, trying to give our staff a little bit of a break on being here for such long hours all week.
Well, but here's the thing, it's twice a month. We meet twice a month. And I'm sorry, but in my opinion, it's not about our convenience. We are of service to our citizens. And if it makes it easier for our citizens to attend the meeting either through Zoom or in person, I vote on making it easier.
So I guess I'll go back to what we're doing with the Zoom. If there is citizens that are very have a good opinion about this, please tell them to come to the meeting and speak, or send us a letter. Because like I said, we can't be the conduit of information gathering in the town and then bringing it as like, here's what I'm hearing. Is that one person, 5 people? So I'd love for them to speak up and say, you want it at 6:30, then come in and talk to us about it. Or Zoom in, or write a letter. Yeah, I think it's great. I prefer 5:30 for many reasons, but we can always maybe meet in the middle and do 6 or something.
That would be helpful.
Yeah. Anything else, Sheila?
Nope.
Okay.
That's it.
Mark.
Nothing here.
Mr. Curry.
I don't have much to say other than obviously I'm on Zoom for unfortunate reasons within our family. And I think it's really important to listen to the people who use this. This is the first meeting I've attended as a board member on Zoom, but I want to just make a note that this is the clearest meeting I've ever attended on Zoom at Dolores Town Board. Everything is coming through very clearly. Everyone's voices are being heard on my end. And I just want to comment on that. I think it's been a long time and it's been updated since I last went to a meeting on Zoom for this meeting. And this is by and large, a huge improvement. So I'm advocating for that to stay as status quo for now.
Yeah, we're talking about that later. But yeah, I think the wind is moving in that direction for sure. But it's good to hear that our microphone is working really well.
It's loud and clear.
And telling us that.
That's all I have. And back to just the recusal of myself in the yurt conversation. Happy to oblige. I didn't know that I made comment to make it look as though I would see benefit from that, but I am happy to, if I'm pursuing that in any capacity and it messes with my being able to participate, that's okay by me. Just wanted to put that out there. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Next time, bring your kids. They're fun to hang out with.
Will do.
All right. Linnea.
I would just like to ask during our 5 minutes of fame here, that's what I call it.
All right.
That if other board members attend committee meetings that we're on, to just give a quick report on what happened during their committee meetings.
Do you want it written in the packet, or do you want just a verbal?
I think just a verbal would be good. I mean, because I know that in the past Lee has kind of gone over everything, but here we are, we're supposed to be going to these committees, and I don't know why we can't report back.
Yeah.
Like Chris and I are on P&Z.
So is this your P&Z report?
Well, yeah, keep it a short one, yeah. I mean, we did, well, no, we can't because I didn't bring my notes.
Okay, next time.
So we used to have that on the agenda.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But,
So we can put it back.
But it would just, relieve Lee from having to do that. But one thing that does worry me, that I just wanted to bring up, is, the meetings that have been with this, fire mitigation for the state.
Mm-hmm.
The state wants to pass down, for building and things. Well, what did come up at the P&Z meeting was what you could plant or what you couldn't plant.
PLANT?
Or the P&Z.
Yeah, but things you can plant?
Plant, yes, plant.
Like plants that are more fire
Shrubs
retardant?
and- Yeah. Basically, from what I gathered from Linda, crab apple trees.
Was a good thing.
About the only thing.
Oh, wow.
And so, with that in mind, can we as a town, I mean, I know the state is kind of forcing this issue, comply or suffer the consequences. But as a town, can we have the shrubbery, the greens, the trees that we want? I mean, like we do now, we have illegal trees and trees that aren't legal and.
And are you talking on town property?
Yeah, within town limits, yeah.
Oh, no, but I mean, like, are you talking our park property or whatever? Or are you saying that?
It's the whole town. It would be the whole town. They're getting to that point where they want to tell you what you can and cannot plant. And to me, that's just like not right.
No. I have no intention of chopping down my aspen trees.
Yeah, so
I don't
it's
think
just a
anybody's
question.
asking to chop trees down.
No,
I'll certainly
not
look
chopping
into it.
trees. But
Yeah.
what we want to plant in the future.
Sure.
That's my question, and I don't have,
Is it new builds that they were referencing, Linnea?
This only applies to new construction.
So it'd be new construction.
Or remodels on the exterior.
But still.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I know. Just throwing it out there. Is there anything we can do that?
Are we gonna rename ourselves the town of Crabtree?
Crabapple tree.
Crabapple tree.
Mr. Candler, you could address this because he has been going to these meetings fighting with the state about this
Yay, thank you.
requirement, so.
I mean, it's gonna pass.
I know it's gonna pass.
And they're going to push it through. I didn't catch anything about the trees, but the mitigation part of it, is they're trying to get the mitigation part of it, I think it's 5 to 10 feet away from everybody's homes. And then the hardening of homes, whether it be concrete, masonry, cementitious, the roofs are gonna be all metal, eaves are covered. I mean, there's a lot in that bill. And it is gonna pass. And then you guys, because you do have your codes, what you go by here, you're gonna have to be, I'm not gonna tell you what you have to or not have to be, but, it is gonna pass.
It's
And
being
it's
driven
coming
by
down.
fire mitigation stuff and
No, it's
insurance
not,
companies.
it's really, there are a lot of counties in the Front Range, Jefferson County being one of them, that has a lot of pine trees. They have a lot of forest, and as people have moved out into those areas, they are really engulfed in a
Sure.
In a flammable forest.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and it makes perfect sense. So, but if you mitigate everything around it,
yeah,
it makes it harder for, obviously, if fire comes through, to damage that home.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you have 100-mile winds behind it,
Yeah.
all bets are kind of off, because it's going to go wherever they want. But they're trying to keep the embers from blowing a quarter of a mile, and hitting your roof, and then catching her. We've had a lot of conversations, and trust me, it's there've been some pretty red-faced conversations. However, to try, just what you guys were talking about, your FEMA flood insurance, well, the insurance company, I've told you guys this before, the insurance companies are leaving Colorado because they work on an ROI. So without any return on investment, they're not staying here. So one, it's either unaffordable or unattainable. And this is just a part of it because of what they're losing in wildfire. But again, like I told you, it's not because of fire here specifically, it's because of hail. There are so many homes in the Front Range that are getting destroyed because of the hail, specifically roofs. So they're trying to work really hard with the insurance companies to try and get some of them back into the state. This is a long drawn out. I'm going to do quick, and I'll get back out of here. But I didn't read anything about the crabapple trees. And again, it's not going to affect what's currently existing. I mean, what's there is there, but it is going to be for anything new, and or if there's a specific remodel, then it's going to apply. So,
yeah, State Farm basically told me that when my insurance was going up, they said you are all having to subsidize the Front Range.
We are.
Yep.
And we keep finding that that's not fair to any of the rural areas. I mean, we have the big five in the Front Range, and you have 59 other counties that are paying for it.
Right.
So
this
it's
has to
kind
go
of a-
through the Senate, right? At the state level, and then to the governor for
No,
signature?
so the bill was already passed. This was now to put a committee together to come up with the rules of how it's going to be implemented. So it's already done.
Oh.
Here comes what we have to do.
And it's an unfunded mandate.
Yeah, it's all unfunded.
Sure.
So, as you guys are thinking about other things that you want to try and fund, think about the things that might be coming up that you're going to have to fund because of the laws that have been passed.
It makes me feel good that I'm sitting in a pure wooden house.
Okay.
Good.
It's already built?
Good thing you brought that up. Interesting.
Well,
let us
okay.
know as you find out more.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, anything else? All right. Marie?
Yeah. First, I would like to thank everyone for coming. It's so
Yes.
nice to see this many people here.
Very nice.
Mike, I said this last meeting, thank you for coming all the time. It's really encouraging to see your involvement with the community, and I appreciate your attendance. Mark and I went to the chamber meeting last week, and couple things. I know Susan is trying to get someone to update the website, and it's been a struggle for her. As you know, it's hard to find tech savvy people who are reliable. So everybody, let's just be patient with that, and she'll get that going as soon as possible. Susan, the dates we talked about for for this year, the events coming up, were those tentative, or did you decide on those?
The dates have been decided, the locations are still tentative.
Okay.
So that's why I'm meeting with Lee, and to make sure, but unless there's like a big other event going on that you know, that I would have to move the dates, then I'd go back to the board, but right now, yes, we do have the dates set.
Okay.
Just not the
And then we
locations.
approve the dates, is that right?
Yeah.
Dates and locations.
Yeah, okay.
And then they go on the website. Okay, awesome.
So hopefully after the March retreat, they'll be published.
Awesome.
Sweet. And I'm glad she's here because she did say she was going to attend more town meetings to keep us updated, so thank you for being here. The Empower Breakfasts, she said there's an issue with funding for those. So are those funded by grants or by participation or?
They're funded by the chambers. So right now, the chamber pays for the cost of Empower Breakfast.
Oh, gotcha, okay. So we need more members?
Well, it was funded by a tri-chamber account that we had all kind of put in and gotten sponsors for a relocation guide. So there was a good $3,000 in that account that we were using for the Empower Breakfast, but now that account is depleted. So now we need to look at other forms of funding for the Empower Breakfast.
Okay.
To continue.
All right, and I don't know if any of you have attended any of those, but I found them very helpful in meeting other community members, and at least you would know people by face, if not by name. I'm very bad with names, but I can always remember a face that I've seen someone before. So I hope, we can get that going again. I think those are a really neat thing.
Yeah, we have a tri-chamber meeting next week, so we'll work on what we can do.
Cool. Someone at the meeting mentioned or suggested or asked if we could do like a meeting recap, a board meeting recap, just bullet points, what was talked about. And I know Tammy kind of updates. We get a recap.
Yeah,
And is
minutes.
that posted online on our website?
They aren't.
Just huge, the whole meeting is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just say something real quick about that? So all of 2022, 2023 is posted on the Muni Code, but nothing for 2024. So 2024 needs to be uploaded up to the Muni Code, whatever it's called, under the town website. Because there's nothing there for 2024. I looked.
Did we have meeting minutes? I said, do we have meeting minutes?
Well, yeah, we do, but they're kind of like buried
Yeah, sure.
in packets, so.
So what are you're looking for?
So the packets aren't loaded either?
So when you go to the town website, and you're looking for the minutes for a meeting, say like January, February 3rd, February 17th, whatever. Under Muni Docs, if you click on that, because it says minutes would be listed there. When you click on that, it will take you, but the only ones that are posted that you can pull up by date are 2022 and 2023. 2024 is not there. And the beginning of 2025. So those need to be uploaded for people to review.
Okay, so in looking at this, it's all the packets. So it has the meeting minutes in each packet from...
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So when you go to government.
Yep. Then you go to town board.
And you go to town board meetings.
Yep. Then you go down to municipal code. So those two things are just the ordinances. Oh, I see when you say Muni Docs minutes.
It says,
Thank you.
down it says Muni Docs, Town of Dolores, resolution, minutes, etc. And if you click on that, then it only pulls up 2022 and 2023.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, we'll check into why.
Actually, not all of 2022, but.
Is that the right agenda?
No, they're kind of screwed up in there.
This one?
Up there?
Anyway, so yes, 2024 needs to be uploaded.
I think so.
I don't think so.
Well, let's see here.
What is it? What's the
We
question?
have the wrong agenda up there. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
You,
because,
you had the old, yeah, got it.
yeah. Anyway, thanks, Marie, sorry.
No, that's okay. One more thing, I just had a question about, people who purchase property in town going forward. Is there a way we can maybe make a time limit on how long they have to build on that? And I'm just thinking the lot across the street from me, the guy who's in Telluride, I guess, has not built on it, and basically it's a dog toilet.
It is.
Yeah, so,
John, can you speak to this?
Yeah. I can do some research on that. We had talked about
We talked about a vacancy
that,
tax.
yeah,
A lot of other municipalities.
in the
are
context
considering.
of I think a vacant building. But I mean, there are some policies and ordinances that could be implemented to financially encourage someone to develop.
that'd be
So
nice.
other communities have done that. I think we had talked about that briefly, and then I think at some point decided that they're not to pursue it. But I mean, there are some resources we could look at.
My recent readings are that a number of mountain communities especially have been looking into that possibility, not just in the realm of empty buildings, but vacant lots.
Yeah.
Especially not in residential areas so much, but in commercial areas. Areas that are zoned commercial.
Yeah, and it's a financial incentive too. I mean, we can't require somebody to build. We can't really make them forfeit ownership if they fail to. But, you know, we could use kind of a carrot and stick approach. I mean, that's, there may be some ordinances that could be developed that would impose a penalty. And at the same time, maybe encourage a break on a water sewer tap or something as within our power.
Trustees, do you want John to pursue this?
I don't know if it's a priority right now, is it?
Well, we talk about economic development and we talk about enticing businesses, and we have so little in the way of inventory in terms of real estate that's not locked up. And we've got a lot of vacant lots that have been empty, some for as long as since the 80s, in our central commercial district. I know I put a full-priced offer on a lot in town here, and the owners came back and said, no. That was their counter. No.
Okay.
I mean, so that, had I wanted to strong arm them, I suppose there would have been outlets for that. But the idea is that there are places that people are just holding on to prime commercial real estate without any intention of ever creating business, and I think that's to the detriment of our economy and the potential of our town to grow. So. And it wouldn't be, in my mind, something to consider wouldn't necessarily be a penalty so much as a graduated and growing vacancy tax. Like you get 3 years of grace period, and then at year 3 or year 4, your taxes increase by X percentage over the course of the next several years. With the notion that maybe that vacancy tax could be reset with the advent of a sale. But I think that's something that a lot of small mountain communities where real estate speculation has been running rampant and basically shutting down the local economies. And so I'm thinking that that's something that's maybe it's time to start considering, especially property that is owned by folks from out of the area.
We had a same thing happen with a business down the road in Dolores, and it's up for sale. The people offered, I think, 10,000 below asking, and they just said, no, we'll just sit on it. We'll just sit on it until, for years and use it as storage. So again, we lost that revenue, so,
I had that happen too.
yeah. I think it's worth investigating.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can look around and see what,
If there's
See
anyone
what
already
else
that's
are out
already created that, I think Eagle County
You'll live long enough.
has something to that effect. And certainly the I-70 corridor is rife with, I think, towns that are facing similar problems. Glenwood Springs, Vale, of course, is just, nobody lives there anymore.
I think that's good that you brought it up, Marie.
Thank you.
Anything else?
One more thing.
Go for it.
About the Zoom stuff. I can appreciate people want to attend the meetings via Zoom, and I think it's very helpful. But the agenda is available beforehand so that they can read. If they have issues, they can email Lee to bring up, or any one of us, they can email to bring it up. I'm not saying I think Zoom, getting rid of Zoom is a good idea. I'm just throwing this out there. But the agenda is available. They can email us. YouTube, we never talked about getting rid of the YouTube videos. That was always gonna be there. Yeah, and I just don't, I don't know that I think it's a bad idea to get rid of Zoom, but the people have spoken, so.
All right. They have spoken.
Can
All
I
right.
ask one question real quick before we move off of trustee stuff? Why, why are all the utilities off on my end of town?
So, SGM is getting ready to do the engineering for the phase 2 water
That's
system.
what I thought.
And so they have to have all utilities marked.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how they're gonna capture that, if they're gonna do a flyover or.
They are tomorrow.
We posted on the town of Dolores that they're flying drones
Flying drones, yeah.
to go and mark the
It's just one.
drone.
For having put through we were put for suggesting that we inspired violence when I said nothing about violence. Oh, I have an opinion of a justice that says that, and one appointed by.
Nope.
Who is it?
It's Daniel, I can't read his name, I can't pronounce it.
Is his hand up? Does he want to speak?
No, he's talking about, and I don't know who it is.
Oh, maybe he was talking in the background.
I think he just accidentally unmuted himself.
Oh, okay. Sorry, dude.
But he just did it again, so.
And then if we do, if we decide to bring committee reports back into the meeting, can we just combine those with our trustee reports so we don't have to add something else to the agenda?
I mean, if that's what you all like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We usually are under time, so I'd rather just be efficient and get it done.
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. It is 7:17. I'm opening a public hearing to discuss the 2025 budget.
Do you want me to do with that? Yes, please. Oh my God, I need documents.
I do have
If everybody remembers, because of the sales tax situation, we had to adjust the budget. And so we put in our original because that was what was required by a certain date with DOLA. And now we're putting in an amended because we know it's gonna be amended. You usually just do one amendment at the end of the year, but we wanted to be clear and transparent about what happened, and so we are making the adjustment to move forward. I think it's in your packet, and Kelly can answer any questions, I can answer any questions. I mean, essentially, we took out the comp plan.
Is this in the packet?
Yeah, and we decided that we took some from chip seal, and then primarily because we're tearing up the streets to put in phase 2, so it doesn't make any sense to
Put
chip
it down
seal a
and then tear it
road
up.
and tear it up.
Yep.
And then the rest of it is pretty much just a 10%.
Okay.
And you always, I mean, those of us that do budgets for ourselves or whatever, you always build in a little cushion, so there is really essentially no cushion this year, but,
Yeah, and if you'll look at the budget amendment document, looks very like this one
it's
here.
138 pages.
It looks a
time around.
lot like
It was a
the
long
budget
agenda.
analysis form.
Yeah, the the 500 pages of marijuana law.
Right. It was only 55. Come on.
We're getting seasick, David.
The multiplier
Oh,
is
there
two
it went.
for every 10 minutes.
Okay, so I did do this very similar to the budget analysis. So the first left column is the budget as we initially presented and sent in to the state. And then the second column is the amended budget that we'll be turning in. Is there one more?
Well, it's the,
It should be the second page of that.
the second page.
Okay, well, I'll just pass this around, I guess, and we can try to get it in. And there is also then a percentage of change. So you can see that from income, when this comes around, our total revenue change in budget is 94%, and 85% was the sales tax misallotment. Everything else is still planned to have the exact same amount of revenue. And then when we come down to our expenditures, there was a reduction in education for basically all of us, trustees, admin, and our maintenance team. And then we did a reduction for seasonal employee. We reduced the amount that we had buffered for snow removal. And then we eliminated...
What is this word you're speaking? Snow?
Exactly. The comp plan was eliminated, so you'll see that there's a significant change there. And then we rebalanced some chemical costs and real allotted money throughout the sewer and water to make those things balance out. And then the majority of it is just decreasing a buffer. And when I say buffer, the big picture would be that we spent $547 last year. When I did the budget, I gave us $800 just for inflation, and then I just squeaked it down to $6. So we're still above what we spent last year, but we're not giving ourselves as much room. So that's basically how we did it. We didn't take out any other plans. We're not losing any other revenue. And I guess somehow we missed the second page that had the percentages, but I can just shoot this guy around if you guys want to take a peek at it. And if you have any questions, let me know. I do have the, again, line by line that fed into this abbreviated document if you wanted to see exactly how much we cut those buffers and those kinds of things.
It was a good job. And a tough, yeah.
You've seen that one already, the second page, okay.
Page 118.
Yeah. Is there any comments from the public? Anybody online? All right, then it is 7:22, and we are closing the public hearing on the budget. I need a resolution, I need a motion to approve resolution 644 series 2025 amending the budget.
I'll move to approve resolution R 644 series 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No, then it is passed. I need a motion to, we're gonna do an ordinance 583 series 2025 first reading granting Empire Electric Association a franchise for 10 years. So I need a motion.
I move to approve ordinance 583 series 2025 first reading.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Discussion.
Discussion.
Oh, I thought, okay. Discussion.
Discussion, okay, this has to be publicly heard 3 times, is that correct?
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about this for the next 3 meetings. I assume that's a state.
Yeah, it has to be published for 3 consecutive weeks, and
Yep.
we have to, because it's a franchise. And we're gonna be doing this over again here soon for Atlas.
Yes, yep,
That's actually been out of contract now since, what is it?
2018,
2018, yeah.
still get our payments, but
Wait, so we haven't had a contract since 2018?
For gas, they've been
Okay.
continuing. to
technically, I think
provide
it
gas,
continues sort of without one if nobody
The-
does anything.
5% franchise tax in the Empire Electric contract and the gas contract coming up is exactly what pretty much every municipality in the area, everybody's at 5%.
Right, I checked with both Drew and Heather.
And I made a
pretty
couple of
standard.
minor adjustments to what Empire proposed, but nothing really significant. There was the lights, but you're fine with the street lights, you think that's
Yeah, I
night
mean,
skies, yeah,
there's not, that's a sort of CDOT dictated,
okay.
yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so let's do a roll call vote, Lee.
Yeah, for.
Excuse me,
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear her hand up.
we have a comment to make about the timeline of that contract with Empire Electric.
Who is this?
Yeah.
State your name and address, please.
This is Kevin Kistler and Leslie Butita, 96 Central Avenue.
Okay.
We just wanted to offer a brief public comments on the Empire Electric franchise term of duration. The neighbors to the south, city of Cortez, they reduced the term of duration from 10 years to 5 years. There was speculation that market rates might be adjusting, especially if the Sun Bear project moves through, which my understanding is it's still on schedule to be constructed now this coming fall as opposed to this previous fall. But it might behoove the municipality to try and shorten that term of duration in case an opportunity comes up to negotiate a better rate in the meantime.
Good idea.
Is there any drawback to that?
I don't know, but, I mean, they're paying us, not us paying them.
Yeah, so the only financial aspect of this franchise agreement is the 5% tariff that the town is charging. I mean, if this solar project ends up reducing Empire Electric's rates, everybody's going to benefit from that. I don't know why Cortez did 5 instead of 10.
Well, so did Mancos.
Mancos did 5 instead of 10. I mean, we could certainly follow suit.
Oh, no, sorry, I don't know about, you're talking about years, I was talking about percent.
Okay, yeah, 5% tariff, not the years. I think Mancos was at 10 years as well,
Yeah.
when they renewed theirs last year.
I mean, we have 2 more readings, so we can certainly
Okay.
go look at this some more.
It'd be, I guess, interesting to know why Cortez did 5.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we can find out by next meeting.
Yeah, yep.
We could reach out to
I
manager, I could reach out to Pat Coleman and see if he has an answer.
Okay.
Yeah, if that solar project does go online as scheduled,
I feel.
what actual difference will that make to this contract?
Yeah.
I don't think it'd make any difference to the contract. It might reduce everybody's electric bill, which would be
Right,
wonderful.
because this is so that they can use the alleys and the streets.
I get it,
and
I just not,
Yeah.
like, I'm not connecting the dots here.
Yeah.
So, if there are dots to connect, I'd be interested in what those are.
Or if not, we move on.
Right, thank you.
But we can certainly reach out and figure out why Cortez decided to shorten that to 5 years.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And we had 2 more readings.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
don't think they're gonna be trying to raise their tariff, hopefully, but, yeah.
But for this reading, we need a voice vote or a roll call.
Sure, everybody ready?
Ready?
Ready. Trustee Peterson,
Yes.
trustee Grigg,
Yes.
trustee Wheeler,
Yes.
trustee Curry,
Yes.
trustee Roan,
Yes.
trustee Youngquist,
Yes.
Mayor Holstead.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so ordinance 583, first reading is passed. Now we are on to resolution 643.
Ordinance?
Resolution
Oh, sorry.
643, Series 2025, supporting the Montezuma County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
So this simply is the first part of Cortez and Mancos have already, so Jim Spratlin from the County Emergency Plan has said that we're doing an MOU around emergency and getting funds, like they're going out to get funds for to do mitigation in the same sense that we are, right? So we're also planning a flood mitigation engineering project. Those 2 things tie together, so we can rely on him to come to our aid, just like they did when we had the flood 2 years ago. Jim actually ran that, which was great, because has a heck of a lot more experience than or anyone else we designate. The second piece of that is we will be bringing forward the new, so I think the last time we had a hazard mitigation plan was in 2019, do you know?
That sounds right.
Yeah, and so there's a new one out there that we can also get related to our town, and then we can vote that in also.
Okay.
So, emergency planning. Anybody have any questions on that? Essentially puts Jim in charge of the actual emergency, and it also helps in terms of getting flood mitigation funds. So.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 643, Series 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? And Resolution 643, Series 2025 is passed. Next, we have Resolution 645, 2025, approving municipal judge Kristen Tarrant, who we spoke to last meeting.
Right. And do you want to?
Yeah, so this is essentially the same contract we've used for Beth Padilla, the last municipal judge. Pursuant to statute, Judge Tarrant's term will expire in April after the next election.
So in April, 1 year from this April.
2026, yep.
Yeah. So when all these statutory officers are renewed, after the election, then her term would expire and she would be renewed along with other statutory officers, myself, Kelly, and Tammy. After that, the statute requires that the municipal judge serve a 2-year term. So be a 1 year initial, 1 year and 2 months initial term, and then a 2-year term after that. So the pay is $125 an hour. 105 an hour, rather. That is the state rate, which is for state appointed council. I think that'll come out probably pretty competitive for what other municipal judges are being paid when you take into account her time. Some municipal judges are just, for small towns, are just paid a flat fee. Just my experience, I think she's gonna come out about equal on that. So I don't know how we ended up with 85 an hour in the last contract. As I recall, that's what Judge Padilla proposed, and we accepted it, but I think this is more commensurate with what the going rate would be.
Any questions about that? Nope.
Okay, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution R 645, approving the contract for municipal judge.
Second.
Ooh, it was a race. Is there any discussion? Any more questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, welcome, Kristen, Judge. Now we are on to administrative business. The first one is the logo contest.
Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop is right. I think, David, can you show us those logos? The logos on there?
Are they in here?
Kids first.
Party or that.
I love the first one.
Yeah.
I love all of them.
It is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially you have a little ballot there also?
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing silent ballot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
You can?
all right.
Hey, where's the ballot?
It's in the packet.
Oh, shoot, I didn't bring that far.
So if you're going to do a written ballot, please make sure you write and sign your name on it.
Okay.
Become part of the record.
Is that them?
The ballot?
You want to try it on next paper?
Sheila, do you want to make a copy?
Yeah, yeah. Who else needs a copy?
I'm good.
Two?
I don't have
Two? You guys need a
You have
copy?
one already?
No, I don't.
Oh, I guess.
Oh, so we need, you need one, like four?
I got one.
4 or 5?
You can start looking while I make a
Oh,
copy.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's one.
Yep.
Abstract. Abstract and lovely.
I can just abstain from this vote, but if anyone knows a way I can vote, that'd be fine, but don't care to if I can't.
Trust me.
You can text us if you want.
Are we voting for one child and one adult?
Yeah.
Which ones are the adults?
These are all child.
These are all child.
That's pretty. Chris, you can text me your vote and I'll vote for you if you want.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing, that one, the year
matron.
needs to be changed.
So I'd suggest just have Chris, he can verbally.
Oh, okay, yeah, you can verbally vote, Chris, if you feel comfortable with that.
Okay, sounds good.
And you, they told you we need a release. They need to release these.
He told me what.
We need to release the rights of them if we're gonna use it.
Oh, yeah, no, you'll need to have
Yeah, you need to get
Yeah,
one.
I will.
I'm telling you,
First I've heard
you need to
that,
get
but I
one.
don't do that.
Because we're gonna own it, we're gonna use it.
Let me borrow your pen when you're
Yeah.
done.
So there's entry 1, entry 2, entry 3, entry 4, and entry 5.
Yeah, cool. And Kelly, we had, and I don't know if we wanted to do this, but we had said, you know, I know the child is, we're gonna use one that's permanent, you know? But we thought maybe we could put the children's up for a week on site or something. Fun,
Perfect.
just to give them a little pat on the back.
And I also have a certificate for them.
Yep, totally. It's okay, I've got
So
another
then we're
pen.
gonna use the adult logo for like our stationery, and have used that plan? Yes.
Unless we love one of the children's as the forever.
I thought we were gonna do
Okay,
All right.
everybody make their vote?
No,
Totally up to you all about what you
Just
wanna
vote
do.
for one, Marie. What's that?
sorry, I'm so
Totally up to you
indecisive.
about what you wanna do. You can also say, hey, let's pump this to the
Um,
people.
Which one is? Who's this?
I'm struggling.
Wait, can you go through them again? Because there are voting.
Number 4.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that
there's
was number
1.
4.
Well, thank you.
There's
There's 1.
Cool.
Okay.
There's 2. There's 3.
That's a good one too.
There's 4. And there's 5.
Okay, thank you. All right, trustees, are we ready to move on to the adults?
Ready.
That was hard.
Chris, do you,
I'll vote 5, please.
okay, so I'm gonna vote for 2. I'm gonna put Chris's on my sheet. Okay.
Okay.
All right, adults.
There's adult entry 1.
Mm-hmm.
Adult entry 2. They need to add a 0 to Colorado. Adult entry 3.
That one's nice. Simple.
Adult entry 4. And adult entry 5.
There's like 9.
Is there? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Keep going.
Adult entry 6.
Oh, yeah.
Adult entry 7. Adult entry 8. Adult entry 9.
That's it. That's it.
Okay. Chris Curry, just let me know if you if you have a preference or want to see one again.
Yeah, do you want to do those again?
I think there's one, isn't there a slide, it was in my packet with all of the adult entries on there?
Yeah.
Should be
What
towards
page is
the
that?
last.
Maybe at the end?
46.
146.
And they're all together, so you can compare them.
There we go.
That's good.
Same person, multiple entries?
Could be.
Yeah, there was a number of
Yeah.
same people, multiple entries.
Yeah, number 8's nice.
And we're voting on a $50 prize, correct?
500.
500.
Okay.
And using it on the site and
Right, we'd be
stuff like that.
changing all of our stuff. Not that most of it's hard because our letterhead, we just write the letter on it. We don't actually print it. So,
And we're assuming the adult entries are the only ones moving forward as the official logo.
well, unless
I mean,
you
unless we're
really,
really drawn to making one of the children's official forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, get it.
Is there another round of it?
No. But we could redo this again in 2 years. We could just have it for now.
One of the problems with doing something like that though is when we buy like 10,000 envelopes.
Yeah.
So.
Or a rubber stamp.
we actually don't put our logo, it's just our address.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't put our logo on.
We used to.
But we can also,
Yeah,
once we did,
you're correct.
recolor them a little bit and make them, because we're in on them.
So what, we have them in?
ChatGPT.
Sure.
I need 3 of those.
I know.
At least.
Chris, do you have a?
Entry number 1 is my vote. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
Okay, so we both voted for this one. And then this is how that one's split. Okay,
Thank you.
awesome. Good job. Thank you for everybody who submitted. Should we move on to the next one? John, is it you that's gonna be talking about this? Or not? The discussion of water membership in town?
No.
No.
No. So, I know this has, come up a lot as an understanding perspective. What does that mean?
Which are we talking about?
Water
Water taps?
membership. Yeah. So
Okay.
every person here has whatever let's just take your house. And it has, or we can take my house. It's got 2 bathrooms. It's got a refrigerator that gets water. It's got 2 sinks. It's got a washer and dryer connection, or not a dryer connection, but a washer connection. Then it's got my kitchen sink. All of those are fixtures, right?
And outside hose bins too.
Outside hoses. So for my house, that's like 9, I think, connections. And so if you think about water, and this, comes up around town, right? There's a couple ways to look at it. So I put together, actually, when I say I mean Kelly, put together what this whole phase of water projects will cost, right? And we took a number that Catherine Carilla gave us for inflation for these kinds of projects. And over the 20-year period, it's 14,879,000, right?
14 million what?
$879,000. So it's quite a bit, right? And when you break that down over the years, the portion of the membership is like 14,500 for all of those. So in the year, these will expire in 2075. The first one was a 15-year loan, the rest are 30. We're assuming they're 30. And so over that lifetime, the increase per month for each membership is $42.21, which doesn't seem like a lot. But as your bill goes up, so like I have a house in Memphis, They just raised my sewer rate. I'm at $101 for sewer and water. We're at 82 something. So the reason that we talk about this as memberships as opposed to, because for every connection you have, so Chris has, well, Chris's house is big. How many water connections do you have in your house? Just your house, personally?
Just my house,
Personally? Like, not your big,
not the whole building,
no,
just where I live.
yeah.
5.
Okay, so she has 5, I have 9. We could all go through that, right? But we're paying the same amount. And that's sort of the point, right? Is that you have people that come in that have a second residence on their property, and it's permitted that way according to the county assessor. They're paying the same rate as you or me or any one of you for their personal property, right? And so when citizens come in and they say, hey, I shouldn't have to pay this, you permitted your house for a residence in the back. So you have 2 residences on your property, and you have in those residents maybe 12 connections, right? So Marie at 5 pays 82. Citizen X pays with 12, pays 82. That's where it becomes unbalanced. And that's why we passed the ordinance 577. So that people that add on second residences or have short-term rentals that they're renting out in the back of their house as ADUs, that's why we ask that they pay another water bill. So I just wanted to bring that up as sort of a point of clarification, and I may have just confused it more, but if you look at it, and you know, there are municipalities that charge by, what's it called again?
Fixture count.
Yes, fixture count. I don't know why I can't remember that, but so you might have a greenhouse and it's got water so that you can water all the plants in the greenhouse. That's one fixture, right? And you're putting the water in the plants, so there's no sewer connection because you don't need one. But when you think about that in terms of both water and sewer, so with 12 fixtures, you're adding much more to the sewer count too. So that's sort of the only thing as we discuss. We had a citizen present last week. I will come forward with, send out some information about that in terms of this presentation, and then, you know, we can, if we want to revisit, because if you change it for one, you have to change it for all, right?
Yep.
So we can talk about that again if we need to.
Okay.
Does that seem fair? Any questions? Like, did I confuse anybody, or?
That's what, if we went to a water membership, that's what this would.
No, we already have a water membership. It's just a better definition of a water membership. And then how it varies for each person, right? Like,
For example, somebody buys, and this happens with all the municipal water systems, somebody can buy a membership into that water system and never install that water tap, right? That membership just simply entitles them to use that water system at some point by installing a tap, right? If that membership is never installed, that tap's never installed, you still pay a membership fee every month, right? Because there's costs that are associated with the water system that go on regardless of how much water is used. So you pay a membership fee every month that's X, right? And then you pay water usage on top of that. And so the membership fee is critical to maintain a water system, because imagine if things got really bad and your water bill was based on your usage, and things got bad enough where people just stopped using water, then your water bill would drop and the money coming into the community would be dropping, which eliminates your ability to maintain your water system.
Yeah. So I'm just using this as an example, but like the lot that was the old Hollywood, there was a functioning business there, so obviously they had bathrooms and whatever. Do they still have taps on that property? Or do they close them? Do we close them off when they're no longer a viable business?
You have to abandon your tap. So you basically relinquish it back to back to the municipality.
And I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Gotcha,
but
okay.
I had a tap at the old Koenig building for 15 years that was
Yes.
inoperable, that I paid every month,
Okay.
a minimum on, until I built that building.
Right.
But the choice was abandon your tap, which means you'll have to buy a new one if you ever develop the property.
Or pay.
Or continue to pay your membership
Got it, okay.
fees, your dues.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks.
And that's the model that's used pretty much universally.
Correct.
And the member, I'm sorry to be so dense about this, my membership fee is my base rate.
Correct.
Correct.
It doesn't change, it doesn't change
That's what the,
if you don't use any water, it
Sure.
stays the same.
that's my,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
That's
is
a
a
good
membership.
question.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
And
clarifies.
to
All
put it-
clarification is
To
good in
put
this
it,
one.
to put it into relative terms,
Yep.
the town of Dolores has 546 memberships.
Okay,
That's it. That's who's paying for this entire water
yeah,
system.
Okay.
Montezuma Water has almost 6,000 memberships. And their membership fee is considerably more than the town's. They just raised their water rates, and their tap fees drastically.
Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
If a person has an empty lot and they have a water tap on it, but it is not connected to a water source, in other words, do they still have to pay for that monthly fee?
Yes, if they have even if it's not installed, so if somebody buys a water tap, right? Somebody could come into the town tomorrow and say, I wanna buy a water tap because you guys are gonna raise the prices, right? They could buy that water tap and then they're gonna start that day paying a water bill every month.
Oh, even
That's
if
their-
they don't have a location?
Even if it's not,
there?
even if it's not installed,
Oh, interesting.
yes. Here's the reason for that.
Okay.
And Montezuma Water way back had it where you could buy water taps and not have to pay the water monthly bill. And they had some investors that bought like 25 taps. And then when Montezuma Water didn't have any more taps, they started selling taps for twice what Montezuma was selling for. So they just put a stop to that. So you can do it, but you're gonna lose money. It's not an investment
We don't like those
process.
people.
It's always that guy.
We don't like
So-
opportunists.
yeah. I mean, you just have to think about it, so phase 2 is probably the most expensive unless we pick, phase 3 is the second water tank. So if we pick a place where we could expand, like we could annex property like Granite Mesa, then, but to get water up there is gonna be a lot harder, and get sewage down is gonna be a
Sure.
lot harder, so that would probably go up. Right now, we have phase 3, which is that water, extra tank just next to the tank that we have, right? And so the reason that we bring this to your attention is because we can't we haven't kicked down the road, right? Like, so we said we're committed to this program, and for phase 2, we're gonna raise the water bill by
Yep.
$10. Then we will
And it
probably
was voted on.
continue, and it was voted on, we'll continue. We're not gonna probably raise it 10 years every year, right? But 3% or whatever, until we get to the next one, and you're gonna have to raise it again
Yeah.
to get enough money to, pay this whole project.
Yeah.
And of course, I may or may not be standing by the next one, which is 2030, I think. So, but in the overall big picture of things, when you look at the portion per
Yeah.
membership, it's $14,000 over the 55 years of the 6 phases of the project. So we have to keep up enough to support our water system. The best way to do it would be to annex, bring in more members, because the more members, then the price drops, right? Of the maintenance and all of that, because you have more people paying for it.
Yeah.
So I'm just, it was a good thing that you all did to raise that rate because, well, we had to show that we had skin in the game to organizations that are gonna grant us a lot of this money. So in that total of 4.6 for this next project, we're still funding, I think, $1 million, town's portion is $1.8 million. And then you gotta pay that loan down. So, yeah,
All
just
good
a
stuff.
conversation about
I don't know
that.
how you wanna handle this, but we have somebody that's raised their hand.
All right,
Is this a public?
Who's not a public?
I'm fine with that. Just state your name and your address?
Hey, this is Kevin Kistler again, 96 Central Avenue. I just wanted to chip in on this because it sounds like we're kind of having a conversation of, we have our rates at X, but we know if that's really enough to fund the sewer and water operations. And I think typically what municipalities do in this situation is they do a utility rate study and they'll look at what rates they should be charging versus what overhead costs are, and then try and figure out how that aligns with long-term strategic financial objectives. So I think maybe a good recommendation would be to try and move forward with some sort of analysis of what our current rates are, what our current costs are, and then try and figure out, does that need to be adjusted? And then that would be a good opportunity to address the equity concern over sewer charges versus water charges.
We did that when we raised the rates.
Yeah, so we had an engineering firm that actually did that. We've had rate studies done, and that's where we arrived at the $10. It also had to do with applying for a grant, which we got turned down on the first time because we didn't have enough quote unquote skin in the game. And so when they reviewed everything, the $10 rate was determined based on the rate study. That's why this next rate increase is $10 per membership.
Is that online? If somebody wanted to read it?
To read what?
The rate study.
I don't know, I'll have
Okay.
to look. The rate study.
All right.
is-
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna make this very efficient. 13.3, I don't know that we need to discuss it because it feels like
Community has
we know the community spoken. I think we should just keep it and move on.
Yeah.
Are we good with that or?
Yes.
Yep.
Mayor, if I could just add a couple of
Sure.
things about that. The reason why that's on the agenda, I think there's two separate issues. One is we are still operating under our emergency COVID ordinance.
Yep.
Talked a couple of times about changing that, but that emergency ordinance allows both public and trustee participation by Zoom. So that's one discussion item.
So we'd have to change the ordinance?
We should deal with our emergency ordinance. COVID's over.
Okay.
But something to think about is trustee participation by Zoom. What do we want to do permanently with that going forward? The second thing is public participation. And I just want to share something that we found out today, well, recently anyway. We looked at 16 different towns on the western slope. Of those, 8 allow public comment during the meetings by either, I think 1 did Teams, the others 7 were Zoom. 2 of those 8 require the public to sign up in advance. Email, contact the town manager, whatever. They don't take public participation by video unless that person is signed up in advance. The other 8 towns do no longer allow public participation by virtual means. So it's a 50-50 split across the western slope.
Okay.
We are definitely in the minority when it comes to trustee participation by Zoom. So I'd like to clean up that COVID emergency ordinance. We don't need it anymore, but it did allow trustees to appear by video, which has got its pros and cons. But you all, as the policy setters, need to think about.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You go.
Okay.
So,
Um,
so you said you're gonna move through that quickly, and I just shot that idea out of the sky.
I like the ability for trustees to participate, especially if they are away, like for example, tonight. And, well, okay, so pretty much I want to keep it the same.
Yeah.
I like the public participation as it is now. And, we just need to get a little bit better with, well, people were good tonight about stating their name and address. But, yeah,
I agree.
and then clean up whatever we need to clean up.
Yeah.
But I like it the way it is, and I don't really want to change it.
I agree with you because I think also until let's not solve for a problem that isn't here yet.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody is being a little feisty or inappropriate, we can cut them off, or we can walk to their house. You know, we're a very small town, and we know each other, so I'd rather keep it friendly and teeny and towny, if we agree.
And that's what the moderator's for, to mute, you know, and I think there's the ability to block if need be.
But we've not had that problem yet.
No, and, you know, and why be afraid of something that, like you said,
That's right.
has not happened? And,
Okay.
I think it's important to keep for our community.
All right, John, you got your marching orders?
Good work, Sheila.
All right, we're moving on. We are gonna keep it for now, and we're gonna revise the ordinance, or the rules, I guess. 13.4, we're talking about the marquee. Couple things I'll say really quickly, and then Lee is gonna probably say something. Again, we've heard internally that people want a marquee. We haven't heard it from any townspeople coming in and saying they wanted this. The other thing that is my concern is this is an ordinance, so if we change the ordinance, it changes for everybody.
Right.
Anybody can put up marquees, signs, whatever they want. We can't just do it for the town.
Right.
And the other thing is, if we're suggesting this is on CDOT, this is a multi-year process, because that is their road, not ours.
Right.
You mean if it's on the highway?
It's on the highway.
Well, yeah, if it's, I mean, you would have to put it, well, there's a couple things, right? There's a safety consideration, because people are driving on a highway, and I recognize it's only 35, they would have to pull off to see it. But to Chris's point, in the land use code, we have prohibited electronic message centers. And so if in fact we decided to say, well, we don't care about that, we're just gonna bucket and put one up anyway, then the rest of our signage code gets thrown out the window, because you as a town have broken the rule, and then you can't say to them, well, we can break the rules, but you can't. For any kind of sign, right? It throws out all your ability to.
Dark skies, whatever.
Yeah, so, we could, well, we actually can't have a marquee, but we could do one of those signage like you have, or,
Yeah.
Well, the other
I
thing
can
that,
just
I
see
don't know, or we
that
can.
getting changed.
well, the other thing we said was, we could also just be very diligent about, okay,
Getting
if
it
this is
out.
20 people that really don't use Facebook or don't want to, or 30 or whatever, we could send out a monthly newsletter with everything that's happening. We could also post it at the store, at the library, here, like a better, more frequently changed message board. Because the only feedback, and I never like to bring feedback in that a couple people have told me, I'd rather have them come in, but the only concern was, oh, you really want people driving down the highway, stopping and looking for the sign, to read?
Right.
So,
What do you mean, people go by and read Linnaeus all the time?
yeah. But if ours is scrolling with multiple messages, it's
Well,
gonna
and
be
there's the
different.
assumption, right, that we need to talk about an electronic version of a marquee, and Linnea, you got a marquee in front of your store right now.
That's just a sign though.
I mean,
But it's like, 10 steps from my door, from the sign, the letterbox.
no, I get it. It's like, it's not about where we put it, it's the difference. It's like we've made an assumption that an electronic version of a marquee is what we're after, or what would be a benefit. And I agree with all the safety issues, and I think it's ridiculous to think that like, as a distractive thing. It's the bank is bad enough with the clock. And the temperature.
Especially since the clock isn't correct.
And the temperature takes forever to come up.
That's right.
In the sun, in the shade.
So
Yeah.
the only issue with a marquee sign like I have versus an electronic is that if it's down, let's say but it couldn't be at Flanders, could it? Because that's on the highway.
Right. I mean, it couldn't be on the.
It'd have to be in the park.
Okay.
So you'd have to pull off into the park to read it.
It's gonna be on the back side. Well, see, first off, electronic marquee, unless you change the land use code, can't be in
Can't
town
be,
at all.
okay, because it would change it
So
for
that's
everybody.
the first thing.
It can't
Okay.
be, I'm sorry, it can't be.
In town at all, because we don't allow it. In our land use
That's our
code,
ordinance.
we said, we're
not
not
doing
gonna allow
electronic
this.
marquee.
Because we want the town to keep its small town-like,
Right.
right?
So I mean, if it's a marquee like mine, which is not electronic, could it be on the Flanders Park?
Yeah, I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so, because yours is grandfathered in. So we have, just like Cody's, that's not, that does not meet our sign code at all, but it's
Okay.
grandfathered in.
Well, it's
Okay.
also safety.
So,
Kind of
so
like-
with that, then there's really no point in talking about a marquee, because if you can't have it on the main thoroughfare.
Right.
Then it can't be on CDOT road.
Which isn't our land at all.
Which,
Right.
so, I mean,
But we
Yeah.
can talk about, and I know this doesn't get the marquee idea, but most of the communities I know don't have marquees, and they get information out in various ways, but we do have a message board there in Flanders Park, it's
Right.
by the water.
Yep.
If that was, and you know, Jen has talked about the need for a kiosk, Joe Ralph Parker here, if that became.
Like the water tower area?
Yeah.
But
Every time
became
I-
And,
maintained,
yeah,
and maybe something to draw a little more attention to it,
To
that
it,
people
sure.
know that it's there,
they
then
can get it.
I think that's a place to start.
Mhm.
In addition to maybe the library and posting it
Well, sure,
multiple
that kind of
places.
stuff, but, you know,
And
to have
social
a location with information that people get used to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Done with it, we can try it and revisit,
Yeah.
try that kind of communication
Because,
first.
and again, you know, I know I'm the only one saying this, but, you know, if there is, and I'm just gonna make it up, like senior lunch, there was like 20 people there. If those are the crowd that don't really want to use Facebook or don't like to or don't use it, maybe we could just say, hey, come to our website, sign up, and we'll send you a newsletter
Sure.
when your water bill goes out or,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, whatever.
And who writes the newsletter?
What's that?
Who's gonna write the newsletter?
Well, we do posts all the time, so we could just consolidate it through the month, right?
Who writes
Just
the
cut and
newsletter?
paste.
You would.
Well, she writes the posts on Facebook, so we could just take it out of Facebook
Yeah.
as you post it and do that. Because you're already writing for Facebook. Clip, put it in a Word document.
there you go. But you'd almost have to have their PO box, because if
Yeah.
there's someone who rents, they're not gonna get their water bill.
Well, yeah, so we'd have them set
Since
up.
they're going there anyway, why don't we just post it at the community center?
At the community center, at the post office.
You
Yeah,
can't post it at the
here.
post office anymore.
You can't post it in the post office anymore.
Public service announcements. Art, you can post
No,
those.
so the new administration, 86'd all communication through postal
We
services.
no longer do that.
Rebel.
Oh, is that right?
So,
And
I-
they do.
And then
We're
if
gonna
we
go
get
against the empire, they're gonna come after us
So
because-
when the ad sells, it shuts down, goes out of business, we get to
We
keep
can
the
take it.
sign.
we'll move the town hall over there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
town acquired.
We get the sign.
Okay,
When she takes
Oh.
over the Dollar General location, we'll move over there.
No, I'll put that in the
Thank you.
wording, when I, either in my living trust or
You can
my-
will it to us,
Yeah.
yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
And
Like
I-
Linnea
Yeah,
posted
it's
on
spelled
Instagram about the meeting
HOSKESU.
tonight, which is like,
All right, so we're moving on for this, and we're gonna figure out an action plan to get communication out.
Yeah, I think we talked about other locations at the last meeting, or maybe the meeting
Yeah, we
before,
did.
where we would post in different places.
Yeah,
So
we did.
we'll start
Um,
ensuring that
it
we do
just-
that.
I feel the offset of doing an electronic marquee is gonna open up a lot of downstream results that we don't want.
Oh, well, if it's in the ordinance, I mean, it's.
Well, in CDOT, you know how fast they move. We won't even, we won't even be aboard when that is approved.
No, we'll just.
Okay, moving on.
We'll focus on
So,
other ways.
now we're talking about the yurt really quickly, or anything else. So when we have talked about P and Z stuff in the past, it has been at the behest of a citizen making a request for their property. Yeah.
Right, like we talked about tiny homes last time because we have a citizen that
who
wants
wants
to
to
put one in.
investigate it, right?
Sure.
So correct me if I'm wrong. We have discussed yurts, but we have had no citizen actually put in a formal request to get an approval.
Correct.
Okay, so my gut tells me that we should wait until a citizen,
It's in a formal.
so you don't waste your time on a goose chase. If a citizen wants this, they should make a formal request to the town that they want to do this,
Or you're-
and then we move
Sure.
forward.
Yeah.
Is that reasonable
Because that's what has kicked off all of our,
projects.
now we've talked tiny houses, not homes, sorry.
I
Those
call
are so
them, I call
confusing
them
to
small
me.
dwellings.
Yeah, right, small
Small
dwellings is a
dwellings.
good way to put it,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And so, yes, if someone were to come and say, hey, that's
And then
what
it becomes
happened.
formal.
Someone on 7th Street said, hey, I would like to put in a tiny house.
Right.
And then we look into, okay, well, here's your lot coverage, here's your,
Sure,
we look
sure.
into all the land use codes.
Okay.
So that's all we need.
So we just need a formal request. Okay,
Right.
is that good?
Great.
Okay.
Like it.
All right, and then,
We don't mention.
we're still on, this is not on the menu here, but we're still good for the Citizens Coffee on the 22nd. I saw you posted it, which is great.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions about it?
That's it.
What day is it?
22nd, March
It's a
22nd.
Saturday.
I'm quite excited about
From
this.
9 to 11, I
Okay.
blocked it at the
March
community
22nd?
center.
March 22nd.
That's on a Saturday?
That's
Yeah.
So, in the event, like, say someone wants to get married that weekend.
Well, okay. Look, if they make a request, then we can move it.
Are you
Can we move
asking?
it? Well,
Are you
Plus,
asking me?
plus, for one, they're not gonna get married from 9 to 11, more than likely, right? And two, we could use the north
Yeah.
side.
small.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so you could use the small room.
Okay.
Cause it's just Buffy and it's just you guys and the
Yeah.
number of people that show up, which I'm gonna guess is gonna be large.
You do think it's gonna be large? Oh. How about if we offer Bloody Marys? Will that make it larger?
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, the thought just occurred. I don't wanna take revenue away from the community center.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Lee, did you want to say anything on the workshop topics, or are you asking
Well,
us?
no, I'm asking you also, we have a number of things that we could talk about. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but.
March was,
March was the farmer's market.
farmer's
No,
market.
so, yeah, we could talk about, farmer's market, the community center, fire mitigation, code enforcement, 4th Street stop sign, because we've got a plan for that. And cleanup day, any of those things are on my list. Which one would you like to hear about in 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks?
Yep.
Well, you were thinking farmer's market in March,
Yep.
right,
Yeah.
Mark? So in 2 weeks.
Will produce be ready by then?
Will what be ready?
Produce and everything?
No, but we need to
No,
be ready
no.
before the
Right.
produce is
Right,
ready.
yeah, we need to talk about what the rules are gonna be, if we're gonna charge
Oh, well, you're
anything.
talking about it, not actually having it.
Yeah, right, yeah, so
Sorry,
we
Mom.
have someone, if we're gonna pay someone to manage it, if we're not gonna pay someone to there's a considerable amount. What are we gonna let in there, are we gonna assign spaces?
Yep.
All that sort of thing.
And what were other topics when you were, you said something about.
I have a
4th
big
Street?
old 4th Street stop sign. Code enforcement, cleanup day, the community center. We could also talk about dark skies. And then one thing around the community center is that prospect of doing a Friends of the Community Center. And so it would be sort of a similar discussion to the farmer's market, like what does that involve? How do we, John would have to come up with a agreement that these are the friends. They would be a nonprofit, then they could raise funds. So there's a number
Okay.
of those things.
Well, does anyone have any thoughts about February?
No, I want to talk at some point decorating and stuff for Christmas, but this is way early for that.
Oh, yeah.
We can do it in April.
I do think though, I mean, is Susan gonna be ready to talk about dates yet and stuff? Should this be anything, a workshop at all?
She said something like they've got meetings in March,
Yep.
so that might, yeah,
It
April.
may be too premature.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We could have a goose workshop.
Party.
Yeah, okay.
Could have a party?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more.
I mean, the dark sky is always an issue, I think.
Yeah.
I would encourage everybody to read the zoning ordinance we have right now, because we're already dark skies compliant.
Yeah.
That's required.
The only thing that maybe I want to bring up, and maybe we talk about it or not, is, I do really think we need to strategize on how to nicely message yard cleanup this year.
Sure.
And how to really get it done, because I'm getting more and more worried with this with this dry winter, that we are gonna have a lot of fire danger this summer, and possibly fires up in Buggy. So I feel like as a trustee board that is very knowledgeable and cares about the town, we should maybe talk about how we want to approach this. And do you think it's a valuable topic to talk about?
Well, yeah, and we could talk about that in February.
Yeah,
Because, the cleanup.
Yeah.
And, do we want to, and how are we gonna do it, and.
Because I think it's more than just weeds at this point. We have some houses that are maybe need some help with other stuff that is
So
potentially
does that
flammable.
are you thinking of dovetailing in code enforcement into that?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. That's what.
Read my mind. Yeah.
Well, and I think,
Sounds like
take
workshop
some
to
lessons
me.
from Memphis too.
They were very. They had a process.
They
seemed to
definitely
work.
have a process. And yeah, maybe we can take some lessons from them.
Talked to Heather about that today. She hates that process, but she does it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, maybe we can get a copy of their letter and how they have approached it.
That's what I
What did you
said.
say? Oh, that's what you said.
What have they learned from their process is really what I'm more interested in, not necessarily emulating it or duplicating it.
And then
Unless they've just found the way.
They seem to have found the way, which is
And I'd also
registered letters.
Living there, I
how
would say that they've not
how they
found a way.
advertised it. Ours didn't come across very nice last year. So. I
Or do you
think,
mean the actual date, or the way we
how
did it?
Memphis advertises for their cleanup to their citizens.
Yeah, it's on their website, since I live in Memphis. It's on their website, it's posted in all the places that you would see. It's usually a big giant truck, like one of those trucks that drives over other trucks on the front.
monster truck.
And then
Oh,
it
yeah.
gives the dates, and it
Okay.
gives the locations of where you drop everything.
Yeah.
You can drop off your green waste and they'll chip it, and then you can also come get some as a town person.
Yeah.
You just show your license.
And we were talking about maybe renting a chipper for the day.
Yeah, so we could
So
chip.
we could do something similar, get people mulching their gardens.
Yeah.
Well, are you talking about the noticing for the cleanup or noticing for
Both.
people, telling them they need to clean up their properties? That's two
I'm-
different
I think
things.
both.
Well,
both.
I think it's both.
Those, they kind of dovetail, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
how do we
Right.
communicate the idea of like, this is your opportunity to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
And by the way, get rid of
Because-
that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And, just trying to be, the town trying to be a good steward, like, if you need help, we'll come with the front loader.
Yeah.
If you got the queen size mattress that you need to get rid of, that type of thing.
Yeah,
And
we just had a lot of discussion about this previous in terms of what our staff could handle, our maintenance crew,
Yeah.
and the abuse of the current system. We don't wanna forget that. We made the decisions we did for some good reasons.
And we're literally wearing out hundreds of $1,000s worth of equipment running up and down the highway.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah.
not saying for everyone, but like you were saying, discussion of a chipper.
Right.
Well, how's that gonna work?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
gonna have
well-
the chipper down at Joe Rowell in the parking lot?
No, you would have it where the green waste goes, and people can come up as they drop off.
Well, what if you own a Volkswagen Bug? How are you gonna get?
You can get Lainey's. She has a community truck. I used it to move some furniture from Memphis to here. All you have to do is text her and say, "Can I get this truck to help me?"
Okay.
And Chris and I
So
picked
it
up.
is worth a workshop, because obviously we're already taking 10 minutes here
Yeah,
on discussion.
agreed. So
The other
we'll
thing
do
I want
that
to
for-
remind everybody and everybody online is that this Wednesday, the 12th at noon, we're having the siren
Oh,
tested.
yes, thank
Yeah.
you. Yep, siren testing. So Spratland, the sheriff, we'll be there trying to make sure it works.
Yep.
Which, by the way, the whole FEMA requirements requires an alert system for the community in a flood zone.
Sweet.
So that thing just became completely
Invaluable.
significant.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
that's good.
Good. Ahead of the curve.
Are there any more fire mitigation?
One more.
We're all Zoom?
One more.
One more?
It won't be this Friday, it'll be next Friday.
Is that the one for the fire department though?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, it's gonna be geared completely for firemen, for the fire department. Yeah,
Okay.
the one we hailed it's on our website, you can actually watch it, the entire thing.
The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all the same, they're
Just
just
different.
geared for different, like for the
Different
insurance
people.
industry,
So
they
you're
talked
gonna
about
get different
different
questions
stuff.
essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, any last comments?
Okay.
Comments and
Any
opinions?
last jewels of wisdom?
Use the hammer.
Okay, it is 8:20, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
All right.
You're killing me with that frickin' Stanley. You know I work for the company that owns Hydro Flask. I can get you a purple Hydro Flask.
Yes,